My eyes flew wide open to the nasty stench of horse manure and old mold. My head throbbing like someone used it for batting practice. I'm stuck in a beat-up wooden cart with zero padding. Not even a blanket. Just getting tossed around like a sack of garbage. On the absolute worst dirt road ever made. Then all these memories slam into me like a semi-truck. Not even my actual memories, some completely random guy's stuff. And plot twist, I'm suddenly Soren Arist, the seventh prince of the Arist Empire. Sounds legendary, right? Psyche, I'm basically the ghost prince nobody gives a crap about. So totally forgettable that even the official royal portrait artist went. Nah, I'm good. My mom's got my old man, doesn't give a damn. And my siblings probably forgot I was even on a roster. And where am I headed? Straight to my generous little gift from dear old dad. The lightless territory, a literal wasteland to the west. Massive death mountains looming to the east. A creepy-ass fog forest crawling with monsters to the south. And our sworn enemy. Nation just chilling past the peaks to the northeast. This isn't a royal territory. It's a death sentence with extra steps, bro. In my past life, I literally worked myself to death on a grueling construction site. I thought I hit the ultimate jackpot, getting reincarnated as a prince with endless wine, wealth, and luxury. But nope, the universe laughed and said, here's an even more toxic job site for you. Except this one features freaky man-eating, spider ladies, and terrifying harpy chicks, staring at you like your fresh DoorDash order. My entire military force consists of 10 exhausted knights, one terrifying bodyguard named Lord, and 2 government paper pushers, who look like they're seconds away from passing out. We couldn't even pull off a drive-through robbery with this squad. At least Lord is an absolute W, even if Dad dumped him out of the capital, just because he completely pissed off every single noble in town. Still, the guy is an absolute unit in a fight. The second we pulled up to Lightless Town, which literally looked like depression, got assigned a zip code, the local guard. Captain Bark tried to pull the classic little power trip. I run the show here, kids step aside. Lord didn't even bother fully unholstering his sword. He just slid out a single inch of the blade, and the sheer aura alone carved a clean slash right across Bark's cheek. Just 1 inch, and Bark's knees buckled. He dropped straight down, and his pants looked suspiciously soaked. His whole tough guy facade vanished faster than morning fog. I desperately wanted to yell, let's go, that's my guy. But I played it cool and dropped some royal swagger instead. Get up like I see this kind of nonsense every single day. Then I went on a grand tour of my new kingdom, and oh, good lord, outside regular folks are literally starving, gulping down brown puddle water that looks like straight-up swamp sludge, complete with floating green chunks. Meanwhile, inside the Lord's mansion, we've got plush designer rugs, exotic animal trophies on the walls, and a massive underground wine cellar stacked to the brim. The previous Lord was living like absolute royalty, while his entire populace was dropping like flies. And get this, the guy had his own personal private well, filled with crystal clear water, absolutely crystal clear, while the townsfolk were low-key sipping what was basically toxic sludge soup. Then my 2 right-hand guys, Pete and Sam, dropped the ledger on me, and I literally almost caught a stroke treasury. Negative 3,700 gold coins. We're not just totally broke. We're deep in the red, fam. Food supply for the castle staff is max 15 days. Taxes collectible. Zilch, because that absolute psycho of a former lord already farmed taxes for the next 3 years straight. And the tax list was wild window tax, breathing tax, first snow tax, shadow tax, over 100 crazy taxes. I was losing my mind. Why didn't he just invent a living tax? And Pete gets dead silent, saying that's literally the last one on the list. It was actually on the list for real. I sat solo in my study, wind howling outside like ghosts having a massive breakdown. 0 cash, 0 grub. 0 morale, enemies closing in from everywhere. Can't run away, desert mountains. Forest, hostile nation, nowhere to fight. I've got 12 dudes and 2 bean counters. I was genuinely crunching the numbers on how many days until I literally starve out. When suddenly ding, survival crisis, threshold reached. Binding civilization, apocalypse system. Welcome host Sornair's torchbearer of human civilization. My cheat system, you absolute legend. Literally give me 5 more minutes, and you could have just RSVP'd to my funeral. A glowing blue screen popped up showing a massive tech tree. Agriculture age. Bronze age, steam age. Electric age, information age. Stretching all the way to space age, 99% locked. Still though, I went from picking out my final meal to planning out interstellar domination. In like 3 seconds flat, then the starter quest dropped. Quest first light of civilization objective. Survive the major crisis. Get at least half the locals to vibe with you as Lord. Pay out 100 civilization points. Unlock basic water purification tech. Penalty for failing none. You'd probably be ghost anyway. Even the system is straight up roasting me. But that quest reward water purification. Paired with the clean well in my backyard. Paired with the disease-ridden swamp outside. A master plan started cooking a wild, unhinged, borderline psychotic plan. These medieval folks have never witnessed a miracle in their lives. Bet I'll become their living miracle. And it all kicks off with 1 cup of pure water. I got snapped awake by shouting. My spine felt like it was snapped in half. From crashing out on what I can only describe as a wooden slab trying to cosplay as a bed. Not even a mattress. I'm literally a prince sleeping on literal firewood. Pete kicks down my door, looking like someone dropped the worst news ever on him. Your Highness, big emergency. Major emergency day, too. I haven't even finished unpacking my bags. And boom, we're already dealing with a massive mess. I stepped outside, and my blood was instantly boiling. An elderly guy was kneeling down in the slop, face planted right into the dirt, his hands totally battered and cracked from a lifetime of brutal manual labor. Right beside him was his daughter, maybe 15 or 16, shaking like an absolute leaf, completely ghost white with tears pooling in her eyes, but far too terrified to even let out a sob. And standing right over them, rocking the most cursed grin I've ever witnessed, was this absolute unit of a guy named Herc, the vice captain of the guards. Built like a brick wall, uglier than sin, and somehow even more punchable than bark itself. His tiny, beady eyes were crawling all over this poor, shaking kid, like gross little bugs, while Pete leaned over and whispered, "The rundown," and I swear my spirit literally left my physical body. The prime night tax? What kind of messed up tax is that? Apparently, the previous lord, may he burn in every fiery circle of hell, established this rule where every common girl's very first night belonged straight to the lord. The old stonemason brought his own daughter here, just because that's how things rolled. In this absolute nightmare of a town, I knew this kind of toxic garbage existed back in medieval history, purely as a concept, but seeing it right here in real life, with an actual dad and an actual daughter, kneeling in literal mud, made every single nerve in my body catch fire. Herc flashed his yellowish teeth at me, acting like it was his birthday or something. It's just tradition, my lord. Ancient rules, unbreakable law. The stonemason's crew knows how the system operates. They brought her here completely on their own accord. You wouldn't want to disrespect our customs, would you? His guard cronies, standing behind him, were cackling like a pack of wild hyenas. They all knew the former lord got bored of this nasty perk, and passed it down to them instead. They assumed I'd either fall for the trap, or hand the poor girl over just to score brownie points with them. This whole thing was a test, a totally sick, vile, stomach-churning loyalty test. My 2 clerks, Pete and Sam, looked ready to dig a hole and crawl right into it. The lord's hand was already hovering over his sword handle. But me? I was doing mental gymnastics over here. Because this wasn't just some annoying roadblock. This was a gorgeous, gift-wrapped W just waiting to be claimed. Villain check. Stupid enough to out himself right in broad daylight. Check. Crowd of heavily oppressed citizens watching every move. Check. This script was absolute cinema. I strolled down the front steps, every single eyeball glued to me. Look up, I commanded. The old man and his daughter froze completely. I said, look up. They slowly raised their heads, the young girl's face drenched in heavy tears, while the old guy's eyes looked totally dead on the inside. Zero hope, zero fight left. Just pure, numb submission. I glanced past them at every single person in the audience, and I let loose right then and there. Starting today, starting from this exact second, from the very moment I, Arist, stand on this cursed soil, the so-called initial night tax, this absolute garbage excuse for a law, is officially and permanently canceled. Dead silence. You could literally hear a pin drop. Every single jaw in the crowd dropped to the floor. The girl forgot how to cry. The old man forgot how to shake. Everyone just stared at me like I'd suddenly grown a second head. Kirk picked his ear, huh? What did you say, kid? Say that again. He stepped forward, flexing all his menacing muscles like a total tryhard. You think you can just waltz in here and throw out the old lord's ironclad laws? In lightless territory, tradition is basically God. I turned and looked at him, giving him that look you reserve for expired meat. As for the rules, I said, dropping a single word. Lord. My lord. Lord materialized right beside me like an absolute ghost. This guy literally moves like shadows have shadows. Herc remembered Bart's wet pants from yesterday, and his face totally twitched. Still, surrounded by his boys. He couldn't back down now and reached for his blade. The second his fingers brushed the handle, crack. Nobody saw Lord move, absolutely nobody. 1 second Herc was going for his weapon, and the next his arm was bent completely backward. At an angle arms are definitely not supposed to go. White bone was poking straight through his skin, and his sword clattered uselessly on the ground. Then Lord grabbed him by the throat with one hand, and hoisted this 200-plus-pound sack of trash into the air like he was picking up a bag of groceries. Herc's legs were flailing wildly. His face turned deep purple, and his eyeballs looked like they were going to pop out. The 40-something guards behind him didn't dare take a single step. Every single last one of them realized right then that Lord could wipe them all out, and probably wouldn't even break a sweat. I strolled up to Herc's dangling, gurgling body. You hear my new rules now. He nodded so violently I thought his head was going to fly off. Tears, snot. The whole waterworks, but I wasn't done yet. Oh no, I was just getting warmed up. It's not just the initial night tax starting today. Window tax, breathing tax, shadow tax, staying alive tax. All of the garbage the previous Lord piled onto your backs. Every last bit of it is completely wiped and erased. If canceling the first tax was like a bomb, this was a full-on meteor shower. The entire crowd basically short-circuited. Their brains literally couldn't process all those taxes, the very ones crushing them into dust for years, just vanishing into thin air. The old stone mason slammed his forehead into the ground, so hard it echoed loudly. Only this time, it wasn't out of submission. It was pure gratitude, real ugly crying, snot-dripping thankfulness. My lord, did the gods actually send you to save us? His daughter collapsed right beside him, sobbing and bowing. Then one person knelt down, then another, and then even more, and right in their eyes, those lifeless, dead eyes, man, but then a tiny spark lit up. Something frail, low-key fragile, pure hope, bro. I ordered Herc dragged away for 50 public lashes, and thrown straight into the dungeon. Warned the rest of the squad that anyone bringing up the old rules again gets the exact same treatment. They practically tripped over each other, nodding yes. Step 1 unlocked, flex that dominance, and win their hearts all in one smooth play. But I knew this wasn't capping it off. Gratitude fades fast when your stomach is totally empty, and your water tastes like straight-up swamp juice. I needed to seal the deal with something major. I needed a literal miracle. I cleared my throat, and stepped up to address the crowd once more, channeling my absolute peak cult leader energy. My people. The gods have finally blessed this lightless territory. They've bestowed their ultimate divine grace upon us. Tomorrow, same time, same spot, I'm pulling off a holy ceremony. I'll be distributing the sacred water of the gods. It's going to wash away all your impurities and drop some fresh health and new life on you. Everybody stared at me like I'd totally lost my marbles. Sacred water, divine ceremony. Half of them low-key thought their new lord was tripping. Bet that's dead-ass the exact vibe I was going for. I turned to Pete and Sam, who looked completely lost, and dropped their marching orders. Collect as much charcoal, clean sand, and gravel as you guys can hunt down. I want it all secured before sundown. Then I strolled right back inside the mansion, leaving a bunch of super confused peasants behind, and 2 clerks scratching their heads raw, trying to figure out what charcoal, sand, and rocks have to do with any divine miracle. Oh, you'll see tomorrow, chat. You're all going to see the back courtyard of my pad, looking like a construction site, run by a bunch of confused toddlers. Piles of charcoal, scraped straight out of people's cooking pits, bags of sand hauled from some half-dead river, and random rocks thrown everywhere. Pete just stared at the whole mess, like I'd asked him to build a rocket ship out of trash. His face had so many wrinkles on it, you could literally catch flies in him. Your Highness, shouldn't we be stressing about food instead? We've got less than 15 days left. Why are we playing around in the dirt? Sam nodded so hard his neck almost snapped. These 2 accountant dropouts thought I'd lost my mind. Yesterday, I canceled taxes like an absolute boss. Today, I'm ordering them to pick up rocks. I get it, the optics are super sus. But I didn't have time to hold their hands through it. I was busy yelling at a carpenter, who drilled a hole in my wooden barrel, big enough to stick a whole fist through. I said, tiny holes, bro. Micro ones, let the water flow right through. And keep the sand locked in. Is that really that complex? The poor guy wiped his sweat and just nodded, clearly convinced his new lord had completely cracked up. Once everything was finally gathered, I dragged Pete and Sam over for what I like to call kindergarten science class for medieval noobs. I held up a chunk of charcoal, What's this charcoal, your highness? What's it for making fire wrong? That's literally its most useless trick. I shoved the charcoal right in their faces and pointed at the tiny holes covering it. See these millions of microscopic pores? Like a total sponge, they soak up the invisible. Gross stuff floating in filthy water. This is called physical adsorption. Pete and Sam's brains straight up crashed. Harder than a PC running Windows 95. Their eyes went completely dead inside. I could low-key hear the blue screen of death playing behind their eyeballs. Lord was the only one who actually got it. You mean it works like a sieve? Filtering out impurities better than any sieve. I snapped my fingers finally. A student who doesn't make me want to cry. I sketched a diagram on the dirt. Bottom layer cloth, then fine sand. Then coarse sand, then gravel. Top layer crushed charcoal. Pour nasty water in the top. Charcoal grabs the stench and some sketchy particles. Then water drips down through every layer. And each one traps smaller and smaller junk. By the time it comes out the bottom, I trailed off and watched the light bulb slowly flicker on above everyone's heads. Explaining science to these folks is like teaching calculus to golden retrievers. I muttered internally, should have just said God told me, and saved myself 40 minutes. But now I didn't want blind sheep. I wanted people who could actually think, even if thinking was totally foreign to most of them. Then I pulled a move that nearly gave Pete and Sam simultaneous heart attacks. I ripped off my royal robes and chucked them on the ground. That ridiculous outfit with lace trim. Who designed this trash? Some grandma with way too much free time, heavy, tight, and super cringe. I stripped down to a basic undershirt, rolled up my sleeves, grabbed a shovel, and started washing Sam myself. Your highness, your highness. You can't, your precious body. This is way beneath you. Pete looked like he was going to pass out right there. Sam was halfway to dropping to his knees. If you're not going to help, then get out of my way. One of my royal guards hesitated for maybe 3 seconds, then quietly took off his armor and grabbed a tool. I'll help your highness, then another and another. Within minutes, all 10 guards were working right beside me. 0 complaints, 0 questions. Pure action, Lord. Handled all of this with the first expression I'd ever spotted on his stone face. Something that looked suspiciously like respect. Then he stepped up and lifted a basin full of rocks with one hand. Nghe bỗng như không và bắt đầu sai vặt đủ thứ đưa. Tất cả bọn mày lo mà cuốn sáo làm cho xong xuôi trước khi hoàng hôn buông xuống. Đó là mệnh lệnh đấy. Cái khu vườn sau nhà bỗng chốc biến thành một công xưởng đúng nghĩa đen. Trong khi đó ở dưới tầng hầm tăm tối, Hắc đang có những phút giây cực kỳ vui vẻ. Bọn lính canh vừa hí hửng kể lại trò hề tao đang làm. Và cái thằng đần độn đó cười to đến mức làm rách toát cả mấy vết roi đòn trên người. Vãi trưởng nó tính biến nước dơ thành nước sạch cá. Bằng cát với than củi á tưởng mình là chúa tể vũ trụ chắc. Đúng là một thằng hề lố bịch, gã ta thậm chí còn đang lên kế hoạch căm bắt rầm rộ. Để chờ xem tao mối mặt từ bé mặt trước công chúng vào ngày mai. Trong cái bộ não bé tí đó, việc tao phao đồng nghĩa với việc hắn win chắc. Mấy tên lính canh quanh đấy cũng đang cười mỉm khinh bỉ. Lén lút cá cược xem màn quay xe thảm hại của tao sẽ hoành tráng cỡ nào. Cứ tận hưởng cái khoảnh khắc ảo tưởng đó đi mấy bộ tời. Tới lúc mặt trời lặn chúng tao cũng hoàn thành. 3 cái thùng phi to đùng chồng chất lên nhau. Tấu khét gom geek. Hoàn toàn không có một tí gu thẩm mỹ nào cả. Nhưng được ráp lại chuẩn xác từng mm theo đúng ý đồ của tao. Trông nó y như một thiết bị di của nhà khoa học điên. Thường chế tạo giữa thời kỳ tận thế zombie. Mà nói thật thì hoàn cảnh của tao lúc này cũng sát nút thế lắm rồi. Tất cả mọi người túm tụm lại đông đủ. Phơ phạc nhưng đầy phấn khích Peter với Sam. Trông có khác gì bị cáo đang nín thở chờ phán quyết đâu cơ chứ. Lãnh chúa đứng sát bên cạnh, nét mặt lạnh lùng vô cảm. Nhưng đôi bàn tay siết chặt lại tố cáo lão ta cũng đang căng thẳng vãi chưởng. Tao tạt nước qua loa ở cái giếng riêng, rồi với tay xách cái xô thí nghiệm lên. Bên trong chứa đầy nước sền sệt múc thẳng từ cái ao công cộng của thị trấn. Nhìn cái thứ nước đó thôi là đã thấy rén rồi. Nâu xám xanh dần một đống. Tao bốc mùi lềnh bềnh. Đủ loại cặn bã gì hầm cùng cái mùi khai nồng nặc có thể quật ngã bất kỳ con ngựa nào. Đây chính là thứ nước mà bao lâu nay dân làng vẫn ngửa cổ uống. Vào mỗi ngày trời tao xách nó đến trước hệ thống lọc. Và toàn bộ khoảng sân bóng chìm vào sự im lặng đến đáng sợ. Bạn có thể nghe rõ tiếng CH, I, TRL. Chuẩn bị chứng kiến phép màu thôi nào, tao thì thầm và dốc sạch nước vào. Toàn bộ phần nước đục ngầu lập tức bị nuốt chửng vào lớp than củi bên dưới, rút thẳng xuống đáy một cách chóng mặt. Tất cả mọi người đồng loạt dán chặt mắt vào cái vòi xả phía dưới, hệt như thể sinh mạng của họ đang bị treo lơ lửng vậy. Mà nói đúng ra thì đúng là thế thật. Chúng tao đứng chờ hoài chờ mãi rồi lại chờ tiếp. Chẳng có cái khi khô gì chảy ra cả một giọt cũng không có. Một tên kỵ sĩ hốt hoảng buột miệng hỏi chuyện gì đang xảy ra vậy trời. Khuôn mặt của Peter và Sam bỗng tái mét không còn giọt máu. Ánh mắt họ lúc đó đang la lên câu chúng ta toi đời ở đây chắc to hơn bất kỳ lời nói nào. Ngay cả cặp chân mày của lãnh chúa cũng bắt đầu nhíu lại. Với cái điều bộ đáng sợ nụ cười tự tin trên môi tao bỗng đông cứng ngắc. Y hệt như ai đó vừa bấm nút pause màn hình. Vãi linh hồn bộ mình nén vật liệu lọc chặt quá hay sao trời? Có chỗ nào bị nghẽn à? Đây đích thì không phải là lúc để gặp sự cố kỹ thuật đâu nha. Nụ cười trên môi tao lúc này đang rạn nứt như đồ gốm hàng chợ. Cái hệ thống lọc kiệt quái này hoàn toàn không nhả ra nổi một giọt nào. Trong đầu tao lúc này chuông báo động. Z Alert đang réo ầm ĩ với âm lượng cực đại. Tình huống này hoàn toàn không có trong kịch bản. Chẳng lẽ mình nén đám than củi chặt quá tay rồi sao? Có khi nào tao sắp trở thành trò cười to nhất lịch sử thời Trung Cổ không vậy? Cái danh hoàng tử nghịch đất buồn rồi phét lác đó là phép màu. Peter và Sam đứng sau lưng tao. Were low-key ready to hand in their 9 to 5 resignations. The knights were gossiping. Even Lord looked shook. And this dude has the emotional depth of a brick wall. I was literally 3 seconds away from either claiming the gods needed way more prayer hours, or be drop-kicking this whole goofy gadget into outer space. When boom, one tiny, insanely aesthetic, gorgeous droplet of water showed up at the bottom pipe, hanging right there glowing under the sunset like a diamond. Then it fell drip. Drip, 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 drip. A whole stream of crystal clear water started gushing out. It's actually coming out, Pete yelled, like a guy witnessing his firstborn child arrive. His voice cracked so bad. I thought he was hitting puberty all over again. Sam was rubbing his eyes like a cartoon character. The knights literally went wild with high fives. Back slaps, grown men. Acting like their home team just won the championship finals. Lord's signature poker face actually broke. For the first time since I met this guy, I caught a real expression, and it was pure shock. Unfiltered, certified. What kind of dark magic sorcery is this shock? Inside my head, I was doing backflips. Outside, I stayed icy cool. I waved my hand like a chill, unfazed emperor. Relax, it's just standard procedure. Everyone calm down. Just standard procedure. When I literally almost had a panic attack 30 seconds ago, and now I'm calling it standard procedure. The sheer audacity I have is honestly iconic. I had Lord bring over 2 cups. One filled with the original swamp nightmare water, brown and chunky, smelling like something flat out died in it twice, and another filled with the newly filtered water. I held both cups up side by side. The reaction was straight up priceless. Everyone's brains just completely short-circuited. Left cup, absolute liquid death. Right cup, sparkling crystal clear spring water. From the exact same source, their eyeballs were darting back and forth, like they were front row at a tennis match in the underworld. Is this for real? A knight whispered under his breath. Then Lord asked the question everyone was low-key thinking. Can you actually drink that safely? Every pair of eyes locked onto me. The tension was so thick you could literally slice it with a knife. I didn't hesitate, not even for a split second. I grabbed that cup and chugged the whole thing down. Pete nearly passed out. Sam had to catch Pete. Lord lunged forward like he was about to tackle me to the ground. I wiped my mouth and let out the most dramatic, satisfied sigh in human history. Oh, not bad at all. Actually has a little bit of sweetness to it. Dead silence, then total, absolute chaos. Next morning at the town square, literally the entire local population showed up. People were whispering everywhere you looked. Yo, the new Lord is unhinged. He was playing in mud all day long. Bro thinks he's the light god or some main character. The local guards who totally hated my guts were hiding away in dark corners, just waiting for me to crash and burn in front of everyone. I strode up to the platform my guys set up, hauling the purification tanks right behind me. I grabbed my makeshift megaphone and dropped some truth on them. I know your SUS of me thinking a canceled prince can't pull off a W. Figuring the higher-ups totally ghosted. This wasteland, then, I cut straight to the chase. Enough yapping, bring out the liquid. My crew dumped loads of that gross swamp water right into the filters, dead in front of everyone. The whole assembly held their breath. Seconds dragged on, and the low-key panic started creeping back. Some random yelled total scam. Another muttered, let's bounce. Boom, look at the spout. Multiple streams of crystal clear H2O burst from the bottom of every single filter, at once flooding into the collection barrels like literal magic fountains. The spectators went completely brain-dead, jaws dropped to the floor. eyes popping out like dinner plates. A total system crash for real, hitting hundreds of people all at the exact same time. An elderly woman reached out with trembling hands. Is this actually real? Did the gods finally pull through? I stepped down, scooped up a ladle of pristine water, and handed it straight to the nearest little girl. She stared at her mom, who was completely shook and frozen. The kid took a tiny sip, and her face lit up like Times Square. It's actually sweet, mama. That one single phrase absolutely broke the crowd. It's a miracle, an absolute miracle. Our Lord is literally an envoy of the gods. Holy water, it's pure holy water. Folks started dropping to their knees like falling dominoes. The entire plaza packed with hundreds all bowing down, weeping and paying homage, chanting my name like long live the Lord. All hail the divine messenger. Those guard thugs were just waiting to clown on me. Suddenly had zero strength left in their legs, realizing they'd been plotting against a guy who could literally spin mud into drinkable water. They hit the dirt way faster and harder than anyone else, shaking like crazy while inside my head. My inner monologue was just rolling. These ancient dudes are ridiculously easy to flex on. It's literally just basic science with a sand filter. Just wait till I drop a steam engine on them. They'll probably erect a literal shrine to me, actually. That might actually come in clutch right on cue. My system pinged. Water crisis officially squashed. Citizen loyalty bumped past 70%. Starter quest cleared reward. 100 civilization points bonus unlocked. New tech branch basic hygiene and disease control unlocked. The entire tech tree lit up with massive upgrades. Soap making 10 points. Alcohol distillation and sanitation. 20 points basic first aid. 20 points public restrooms and sewage infrastructure. 50 points plus fondationnel construction. Metallurgy and advanced farming tech. My heart was absolutely racing. With this gear, I could tank the mortality rate down to 0. This was the ultimate bedrock of a real empire. Not fancy castles or massive armies, but people actually staying alive. I announced that all 5 filter stations are locking in right here in the plaza permanently. Totally free for everyone. The crowd went wild all over again. Elders, folks who'd literally never tasted clean water their whole lives, were bawling right on the floor. I went from a ghosted, low-key prince to an absolute living god in like 48 hours. Not bad for a dude who just flatlined on a construction site. But reality hit me like a truck real quick. Pete rolled into my study with the ledgers, rocking that total doomsday expression. Your Highness, that miracle was straight up insane. But we're literally down to 10 days of food. Every single grain shop in town got cleaned out by the previous Lord. 10 days. And then everybody, stars including yours truly. My finger just traced across the regional map. Wasteland west, total garbage. Mountain range east, completely useless. It came to a stop on the deep green zone down south. The misty forest, there's actually food inside that forest. I dropped the hint. Pete turned ghost white. His entire frame started shaking uncontrollably. Your Highness, absolutely not. There are flesh-eating beasts lurking in there. And worse than that, actual demi-humans. The Church of Light and every noble kingdom lists them all as KOS kill on-site monsters, especially the ones hanging around the forest edge. He swallowed hard, his voice trembling like he was spilling his deepest sins. The arachnids, half human, half spider. They trap targets in massive webs and suck them dry. I froze, not because I was shook. From pure realization, arachnid human. Top half spider, lower half. My brain instantly pulled up every single anime, manga game, and light novel I had ever binged in my past life. Spider Girls, Spider Girls. My eyes started glowing, not out of panic at all. In a gamer spotting legendary tier, loot kind of way. Spider people aren't brainless monsters. You guys, they're strategic resources. Prime allies. They can pump out high-grade silk. They're strong, and they know the woods inside out. They're the ultimate fix for my labor shortage. I locked eyes with terrified Pete and flashed a grin. My most mysterious smile. Not Pete. You've got it completely twisted in this reality. The only actual monster we're fighting is poverty. 10 days of rations, that was the deal Pete dropped on me, using his ultimate grave digger tone, while clutching that ledger to his chest, like it was his own death warrant. 10 days after that, everybody starves to death, including me, and there's no way I died on a construction site and got reincarnated as a royalty, just to starve out in some dusty mud village. I pointed straight at that massive green zone on the map. The misty forest down south. Our food supply is in there. Pete and Sam reacted like I had just pitched the idea of taking a dip in molten lava. No beasts. Thick swamps, venomous arachnids. Deadly spider fiends. Even Lord stepped up with a dead serious expression. Your Highness. Even the elite royal knights wouldn't dare step foot in there. You're the core heartbeat of this whole territory. You can't just throw your life away. I checked out these 3 dudes, whose collective survival playbook basically consisted of just roll over and check out gracefully. So what's the game plan? Just wait to bite the dust, praying for grub to drop straight from the clouds. Want me to magically whip sand into bread next? Because breaking news. My cheat codes actually have limits. These guys had 0, absolutely nothing. Facing deadlines way scarier than boss monsters. Corporate KPIs. Way more terrifying than spider women. Facts. These folks have never touched grass in the corporate world. And it shows big time. I clapped my hands since nobody else had a single brain cell to share. Tomorrow I'm taking a squad deep into the woods. But first I flex my secret metagear. Item 1, compressed survival slabs. They look like literal obsidian bricks, mad SUS. Could probably flatline someone if tossed like a baseball. Pete and Sam took one peek. And straight up thought I cooked up a brand new torture meta. They took a bite and nearly shattered their teeth to pieces. Then their eyes blew wide open. There's flour, heavy fats, and jerked meat crammed into this tiny square, packing enough calories to buff a maxed-out tank for half a day straight. Their jaws literally dropped down to the floor. How the heck did you craft this? Pete stammered. Top secret guild recipe, I replied smoothly. What I conveniently left out was that the recipe was embarrassingly low tier. Flour, cooking oil, salt, and random meat scraps mashed together. The secret component was literally Lord's punch. I mixed the dough. He smashed it into shape. One swing, and all the moisture yeeted right out. Density hitting pure bedrock levels. The dude is basically a walking hydraulic press. Item 2. Custom directional smoke grenades. Sulfur mixed with this realm's spicy chili extract. Wrapped in cloth with a makeshift fuse. I sparked one and lobbed it straight into the shrubbery. Boom, neon yellow. And toxic green fog everywhere. The nearby guards started choking and bawling their eyes out. Scratching at their faces, my vision is gone. I can't see. What is this unholy stench? It's burning my soul. Meanwhile, I was low-key crying inside for a totally different reason. That was my entire sulfur inventory. I needed that for actual gunpowder later down the road. And that chili powder was the only stash in this entire NPC town. That's a high-tier strategic resource I just wasted on a flex test. Lord watched the smoke cloud drift away from upwind. And for the very first time, I saw something way past simple respect in his gaze. It was unadulterated fear. He was already calculating the massive damage this stuff would deal. In a full-scale raid, spoiler alert, pure absolute chaos, any counter-arguments. I threw out to the room, 0, absolutely silent. Not a single chirp. Next on. Forest Gateway, a 4-man strike team, yours truly. Lord, and 2 combat knights named Rain and Gray. One's a pro tracker, the other a sniper archer. A lean squad ready to dive in and out. The woods were giving intense vibes. Canopies so dense, they completely blocked the sunlight. Rotting foliage covering the ground everywhere. Creepy dead silence, except for random bird screeches. That sounded like someone getting totally jumped. Bro, the negative ions in this spot are literally capping out. I muttered once we survive this absolute chaos. I'm paving an expressway right through here. And launching a misty forest sightseeing hustle. Ticket entry fee, Your Highness? Watch out. Rain grabbed my sleeve and gestured downwards. A massive 3-toed claw mark pressed into the mud. Straight up iron claw terror bird. A grown one can shred solid armor with a single swipe. Greed whispered, Lord's grip already locked on his hilt. I dropped low, inspecting the tracks like a seasoned detective on a true crime doc. Fresh footprints, but 0 droppings. Just passing through, doesn't nest in this area. Keep pushing, stay locked in. All 3 knights gave me major side-eye. Since when does a royal prince know wilderness tracking? Ever since his past life grind involved sketchy construction sites. Out in the boonies, that's when you pick up actual survival skills. Then Greed spotted a cave entrance. Beast bones littered all around the opening. Stench is rank, dust boar. Lord called out, thick-skinned, hyper-aggressive. Total menace, absolutely létal. I smirked, free delivery on lunch. Lord started rambling about how a frontal charge was way too risky. Meanwhile, I was already pulling out a smoke grenade. Frontal assault, please? We're civilized here. Rain and Greed got sent up to the high ground. Bows primed, while Lord secured the back exit. I looped around upwind, sparked the fuse, and chucked it. Thick smoke flooded the cavern. 10 seconds flat, boom. A beast. built like a mini bull, came bursting out of the cave like a missile. Jet black mane spiking, massive tusks, glowing eyes totally bloodshot, choking, foaming at the mouth, completely disoriented. It dashed straight into our kill zone. 2 arrows landed, one straight through the eye, one pierced the throat. The creature kept surging forward on pure momentum. Crashed hard, twitched twice, and flatlined in under 60 seconds. Clean, surgical execution. Gorgeous, Rain. And Greed dropped down, staring dead at the massive carcass. Then looked right at me, their whole vibe shifting instantly. I wasn't just some helpless prince they had to babysit anymore. I was the commander they actually wanted to follow into battle. Lord inspected the arrow wounds, then glanced back at me, standing there completely chill, like I just ordered some Uber Eats. You could practically hear the gears grinding in his brain. He had never witnessed hunting pulled off like this. Using smoke, tactical positioning, synced up firepower, it felt totally alien and low-key terrifying to him. All right, harvest the meat. Let's keep moving, I ordered, waving my hand forward. Internally, I was losing my mind, shouting this is epic. Bossing around actual elite professional soldiers. They march right where I point my finger. This is 1,000 times better than managing lazy crane operators at a construction yard. We pushed deeper in, the forest getting creepier by the second. Trees warped into jagged claw-like shapes. Sunlight fading out, and then this weird stench rolled in. Sweet yet dripping with fresh blood, I slammed the brakes and pointed ahead. Everyone locked eyes. Everyone stopped breathing. Ngay giữa những tán cây khổng lồ là một chiếc màng nhện siêu to khổng lồ. Mỗi cọng tơ dày dặn ngường ngường như một ngón tay út, phát ra ánh kim loại xám xịt cực kỳ lao kỳ. Dính trên chiếc lưới đó là mảng vải rắc và bề. LOD. ST. INS. Bên dưới nó là đất đá cày xới, mũi tên gãy nát. Một thanh kiếm gục ngã, tròn gói dấu vết của một cuộc combat cực gắt. Nét mặt của lốt bóng cứng đờ như tường đá. Anh ấy chọc nhẹ vào sợi tơ bằng thanh kiếm của mình, và nó phát ra tiếng len keng như kim loại va vào nhau. Đường tơ ấy thậm chí không hề xước nổi một đường. Tôi nhìn độc đấy, anh ấy xác nhận. Với vẻ mặt deadpan và chỗ này vừa có một trận chiến diễn ra. Một bên là nhện chua, bên còn lại là anh ấy xăm soi mấy vết chân in trên bùn lầy. Mấy gã thợ săn loài người trang bị phun tận răng. Thợ săn loài người mà lại bén mảng vào rừng cấm má. Đi săn người nhện ưu, để làm gì cơ chứ? Chúng ta phải rút lui ngay bây giờ. Lốt ra lệnh. Bọn nhện khổng lồ lẫn mấy gã thợ săn bí ẩn kia. Đâu không phải thứ mà tim mình có thể gánh nổi. Tôi gật đầu cái rụt, lao đầu vào mấy chỗ hiểm trở mà không có tí intel nào. Đúng là một pha xử lý vào lòng đất. Tôi lập tức phát lệnh rút quân luôn và ngay. Và đó là lúc bọn tôi nghe thấy thứ này. Một tiếng hét thảm thiết không phải của con người, mà là một thứ gì đó khác hoàn toàn, tràn ngập sự đau đớn và dây. Rồi tiếng chó sủa vang lên, rất nhiều chó luôn. Tiếp theo là đám đàn ông hét lớn vây hãm nó lại. Đừng để con quái vật đó trốn thoát. Hôm nay bố mày lột da con này cho coi. Ha ha, cặp giò của con này ngon phết nhờ. Những tiếng cười cợt nhả, những tiếng cười tởm lợm. Thứ âm thanh nghe xong chỉ muốn đấm phát chết luôn. Và âm thanh đó đang tiến đến gần hơn. Tiếng thét xé toạc cả không gian khu rừng. Nghe buốt giá như dao cứa vào tim. Đau thắt con tim, phẫn nộ tận cùng. Chắc chắn 100% không phải người. Rồi tiếp tục là tiếng chó sủa. Đám đàn ông hò hét những câu từ cực kỳ bẩn thỉu. Cả một party đi săn. Làm cái quái gì mà ồn ào đít cả tai. Lốt lập tức chuyển sang chế độ bảo kê mát ping. Chúng ta té lẻ thôi. Mọi chuyện đang diễn ra ở đằng kia không phải việc của mình. Jen và Ghi gật đầu liên hồi không kịp thở. Ánh mắt họ như muốn cầu xin rằng, làm ơn cho chúng em về nhà đi. Nhưng não tôi thì đang tính toán. Tại sao tôi phải chuồn? Có cái thá gì đáng sợ hơn việc cả lãnh thổ của tôi chết đói trong vòng 10 ngày nữa cơ chứ? Nếu tôi không làm rõ thứ gì đang ẩn nấp trong khu rừng này, thì có khi đêm nào đó một kẻ lạ mặt sẽ ghé thăm phòng ngủ của tôi, và file xây game của tôi sẽ bay màu vĩnh viễn. Tôi bảo với họ là chúng ta không đánh nhau đâu, chỉ đi thám thính thu thập thông tin thôi. Và nếu tình hình có biến căng, tôi vỗ nhẹ vào mấy quả bom khói bên hông quần. Không thắng được thì cứ thế mà chuồn. Vẻ mặt cao có của Lốt giãn ra được tầm 2%. Anh ấy thừa hiểu mấy quả bom khói đó lợi hại cỡ nào. Jen và Ghi lướt lên trước mượt mà như những bóng ma màu. Chúng tôi lén lút luồn lách qua lớp bụi rậm. Tận dụng tối đa cây cối và bụi cây để làm chỗ ẩn nấp. Mùi máu tanh kết hợp với thứ mùi ngọt ngọt lầm rộng, càng lúc càng nồng nặc hơn sau mỗi bước chân. Chúng tôi rẽ qua lớp dương xỉ cuối cùng. và đập vào mắt tôi là toàn cảnh một bãi đất trống, roughly half a basketball court, with mercenaries rocking top-tier leather armor, looking super sketchy and battle-hardened, armed to the teeth with heavy crossbows and curved blades. Two massive black hound beasts built like baby bears, drooling and snarling, dead center of their circle. My brain totally short-circuited. Her top half was human, like unrealistically gorgeous. Silver white hair, totally wrecked with grime and blood. A delicate face featuring striking purple crystal eyes, burning with pure defiance, straight out of a fantasy art book, like she just spawned from an ice sky painting. While her lower half was a giant black armored spider. 8 limbs, most of them slashed open and gushing. Dark green blood oozing from deep gashes on her lower torso. She'd been grinding for ages, and was totally out of mana. This definitely wasn't the usual trash mob. Those eyes filled with agonizing pain and terror, yet holding onto a stubborn refusal to fold. Those were human eyes, Lord muttered right beside me. Those Blackblade mercenaries are absolute scumbags. Will do literally anything for a quick bag of cash. That one-eyed boss is Barton, a notorious slaver. Ugly one eye, licking his chapped lips right now, and staring down the spider girl, like she was a golden lottery ticket. Watch that upper body closely, guys. That right there is premium merchandise. His freckled lackey was literally simping over her. Boss, if we flip a live arachnid waifu to those capital high rollers, with their, peculiar tastes, they're gonna lose their minds. Barton flashed 5 fat fingers in the air. 50 gold coins, that's easy retirement money, boys. They weren't even looking at a living, breathing, conscious entity. They were just viewing cargo. A walking ATM, a product ready to be exploited and sold. Even Rain and Gree, seasoned knights who'd witnessed plenty of messed up things, looked totally disgusted. The spider girl hissed softly and tried to shoot webbing out of her spinnerets. Total fail. She was completely drained. One of the hounds lunged forward and ripped straight into her already mangled leg. She shrieked, swatting the beast away with another limb, then collapsed to one knee, completely out of breath. The fiery glow in those purple eyes was fading out, despair creeping in and taking over piece by piece. Lord's voice dropped, sounding cold and pragmatic. We gotta bounce. This isn't our boss fight to take. Jumping into this is basically griefing ourselves. And logically speaking, he wasn't wrong. Mathematically and tactically speaking, it was 100% correct, 4 of us against their whole squad. They had the numbers advantage plus attack dogs, and probably backup reinforcements nearby, risking my actual skin for an inhuman monster deep in a forest I literally just stepped into? Total cringe. I came here just to survive and grind my base territory, not to play the main character hero. My inner monologue went completely nuclear. Logical me was like, dip. She's just a spider mob. You can always farm another one later. Plenty of fish in the sea, plenty of trees in the woods. Live to fight another day, bro. While emotional me was screaming, look at her. Just look at those toxic clowns. Are you even a real man? What's even the point of having a cheat system then, if you're not going to pop off when things get real? That's when a wild plot twist drops. Straight up business mode activated, shutting down the drama instantly. Wait a minute, Spider Silk? Tougher than steel, bro. This chick's bloodline literally crafts organic Kevlar. We're talking hardcore, tactical grade gear here. She's basically a walking manufacturing plant. A mega valuable teammate who knows every single nook and cranny of this woods. She fixes our labor drought, our material crisis, and our intel gap all in one go. You seriously gonna let these trash-tier mercenaries wreck a cheat code level resource like this? Look, I ain't doing this to play hero. I'm doing this for the science grind. And just like that, I secured the most based and bulletproof excuse ever for what I was about to pull off. Barton yanked out some weird custom net, flashing a creepy-ass grin. Come on now. Pretty girl, let daddy tie you up nice and easy. The mercs started cackling their scummy laughs, while the spider girl, man, I could see it dead in her eyes, totally gave up, the last bit of fight just dying out. She slowly lifted one of her sharpest front limbs and aimed it straight at her own neck. She'd rather catch a body herself than get captured. Lord Deadass looked away. Even he couldn't stomach watching this. Barton closing in 3 steps away. The blade, right at her throat, literally 1 second from a tragic end, and that's when I spoke up. Ice cold, completely chill. Zero emotion, making Lord snap his head around. Eyes blown wide, open in total shock. He honestly thought I had already checked out and left. Nope, I wasn't even looking at him. My gaze was locked on that camp clearing like a hawk, mapping out every move, every single mercenary, every hound, every angle, every escape route. My lips curled into something that wasn't quite a grin, more like an apex predator baring its fangs. Lord stared at me, like I just announced I was going to solo a dragon, with a toothpick, his usual stoic face totally cracking. Your Highness, please think this through. There's at least 8 of them, plus attack dogs. We only got 4 people. Who said anything about playing fair? I pulled out my precious little paper pouches, right out of my backpack. The upgraded smoke grenades I've been stockpiling. Lord stared at them. Rain and Gree stared at them too. 3 elite warriors looking down at tiny paper bundles, like I just handed them candy wrappers. Explaining modern chemistry to these muscle-headed knights is genuinely harder than teaching calculus to toddlers. I muttered under my breath, screw it. Time for a live demo, shoving 2 packets right into Lord's hands. When I drop the signal, hurl these right at their feet. Then book it, cover your nose and mouth. And whatever you do, do not look back. It'll literally fry your retinas. Lord gripped those little paper packages, obviously second-guessing every single life choice. That dragged him into this mess. Then he glanced at the about-to-die Spider-Girl, then straight into my eyes, and made his choice. Bet. Your Highness, let's roll down in that clearing. One-eyed Barton was literally 3 steps away from the Spider-Girl, holding his capture net ready, smirking like the absolute trash human he was. Come on, pretty girl. Let Daddy tie you up real nice. The Spider-Girl Araya had completely checked out. She raised her sharpest leg straight to her own throat. She'd rather catch a body herself than get captured now. I dropped the signal, and Lord's arm moved like lightning. 2 packages slammed into the dirt, right dead center of the mercenaries. Before anyone could even process what the hell, I lit the 3rd package and tossed it right at the other 2. No cinematic explosion, no flashy magic fireworks. Just a soft PF. FFSSS. SS. And then absolute chaos hit. A tsunami of white smoke went off like a literal volcano, swallowing up the whole clearing in literal seconds. 0 visibility, but trust me, this wasn't just basic smoke. Oh hell no. This was my custom signature blend. Sulfur mixed with high-tier fantasy chili powder. The combustion particles drilled straight into their eyes. Noses and throats like burning hot needles. What the fuck is this? My eyes are burning. Yo, I can't see. My eyes are fried. Is this poison gas? It's gotta be some wicked witch curse. Every single mercenary collapsed like a sack of potatoes, curled up tight on the dirt, coughing their lungs out and gasping for air. Frantically clawing at their faces, these hardcore killers got humbled into crying babies in 3 seconds flat. And the hunting hounds with their superpowered noses had it even worse. They snorted a full lungful of that concentrated chili and sulfur smoke and went completely out of their minds, rolling all over the ground, howling out loud, and instantly turning on each other, because they couldn't tell friend from enemy anymore. That highly organized hunting squad turned into a screaming, crying dog-eat-dog circus of pure pain. Lord Rain and Grease were standing right behind me, with their jaws dropped so low, you could park a semi-truck in there. Their operating systems had totally crashed. But how did you? Lord's voice was genuinely shaking. Nitroglycerin Trishagar compound directional thermal release, generating suspended particulate matter. 4 dual visual and factory obstruction. I dropped that absolute gibberish without blinking. I made up literally every single word, but it sounded smart enough to shut them right up. And this is just the starter pack. I flexed in my head. Just wait until I figure out white phosphorus and thermite. I'll be running a full industrial steel mill next. Then I booted Lord right in the backside, literally. Stop standing there mind blown and go take them down. And keep it to blunt force, no sword's blood leaves evidence. Lord slipped into that white hell fog like a ghost. The guy glided through that smoke like death incarnate, wearing regular running shoes. Every single mercenary he tracked down caught a clean sword hilt. Strike straight to the back of the neck. No slicing. Just that bone-crushing Grandmaster flex, putting mofos to sleep effortlessly. One by one they folded, 0 screaming. No extra drama, just thud. Thud thud. Rain and pure grief rolled in to handle the aftermath. Meanwhile, I bolted straight through the thick fog, locking onto the Spider-Girl. She was choking on the smoke too, yet still keeping her guard up. She spotted a human silhouette rushing right at her, and pulled off what any logical half-spider warrior would do. She tried to impale me with her last working leg. I pulled off the most embarrassing dodge roll in my entire existence, across both lifetimes combined, barely missing getting skewered. Hey bestie, I'm here to vibe check and rescue you. Those violet eyes glared right through the haze. Pure side-eye, zero trust whatsoever. No time to chat. Her legs were leaking heavy stream. Dark green blood spilling everywhere. I ripped a strip off my own shirt, dove right in, and started patching her up. At mock speed before she bled out. She tried to throw hands, but had zero juice left. Her limbs were completely fried like noodles. Stop moving if you want to stay alive. The inshallah my first aid game was absolute garbage. But hey, it worked. The bleeding slowed down. Then came the ultimate boss fight, carrying her. One arm wrapped around her massive spider abdomen. The other locked around her waist. Huge breath, teeth clenched hard. Lift, oh sweet baby Jesus. She weighs heavier than a tank. Why is half of her built out of solid titanium? My lower back started screaming in pain. My knees officially filed for bankruptcy. My spine threatened to walk out on strike. But I lugged her up onto my shoulders, purely fueled by spite and the survival instinct of a desperate guy who already locked in on a rescue mission and couldn't ghost now. Now her soft upper torso draped straight across my back, warm breathing brushing against my neck. Under any other timeline, this could have been a major W. Right now, it was just heavy and low-key terrifying. Araya was completely mind-blown. She could feel my grip, zero sketchy vibes. No creepy moves, just desperate. Please don't flatline energy. Apparently, that was a core memory first for her with humans. Lord secured the area and gave the signal to roll. We sprinted, 4 dudes hauling ass with an unconscious spider-girl, crashing through the wilderness. Like our lives genuinely depended on it. Because newsflash, they totally did. We didn't slow our roll until the smoke stench vanished. An absolute dead silence covered our tracks. I spotted a hidden ravine and finally dropped her down. I'm done for. I collapsed face down like a broken marionette. My legs officially divorced my upper body. Lord and the knights slumped against the trees, wheezing heavily but cracking smiles. Even these battle-scarred veteran warriors looked totally exhausted. Who'd just survived the wildest ride of my life. Once I caught my breath and stopped shaking, I immediately turned to check on my VIP asset. My heart straight up sank. Araya was completely out cold. Her gorgeous face ghost white and lacking any color, looking totally drained. But what was worse, those cuts on her legs I had patched up. The surrounding skin had turned a gross blue-black shade, with ominous dark veins creeping upward, like toxic vines, while a faint stench of decay drifted from the wounds. Sepsis and blood poisoning. In a medieval world with zero penicillin, no antibiotics, and no actual medicine. Not even basic rubbing alcohol for sanitation. This kind of nasty infection meant a one-way ticket to doom. I literally kicked open my front door, flexing like an action flick protagonist. Except instead of looking like a boss, I was drenched in sweat with my knees buckling, my face bright red, while carrying a giant spider-girl piggyback style. The reaction was instant as a maid laid eyes on us and let out a shriek so loud. Even the neighbors 3 towns overheard it, before collapsing right there with her eyes rolled completely back, flat on the floor, lights totally out. A monster from the deep woods. The young lord's been snatched by some beast. Someone hurry up and save him. The whole mansion instantly turned into pure chaos. Maids crashing into walls and chairs flying everywhere. Vases shattering while guards fumbled for their swords, with shaking hands, pointing shakily at me and the girl on my back. I haul one single spider lady home, and everyone loses their minds. Just wait until I pull up with a slime girl next time. Y'all are definitely not ready for that. Lord stepped right through the threshold behind me and unleashed his absolute death aura. The room temperature instantly plunged 10 degrees, freezing the guards. Mid-draw like someone literally hit pause. Everyone shut your traps. I roared that out using the absolute last ounce of my energy. Then carefully lowered Araya onto the fluffiest bearskin rug I could find. Stoke the fireplace, get hot water going, and bring me every single bottle of liquor in this estate. Nobody dared to move. Until the head maid finally mustered up some nerve and squeaked. Be you but, your highness, that thing is an arachnid. A cursed beast that's going to bring bad luck upon us. The only curse haunting this town is pure hunger and ignorance. I stared straight into every face in that hall, as if burning my words directly into their brains. Starting today, she belongs to me. Anybody who even touches a hair on her head, or talks trash behind her back, is getting their tongue ripped out and fed straight to the hounds. Lord, step up. Watch over her and protect this room. Anyone who steps out of line, you know what to do. Lord firmly rested his hand on his sword hilt, making the room temperature drop another 5 degrees. And just like that, every single maid suddenly developed compliance skills. Now to deal with the real emergency. I peeled back the crude bandages and nearly lost my lunch. Those injuries went from bad to straight up garbage. Oh man, ashen skin with dark veins crawling out like poison ivy, and a low-key rotting scent. Classic infection. Sliding right into full-blown sepsis. I literally just pulled an SSR tier. Met a unit, and she's about to ghost on me. Not on my watch. Pete rolled up with whatever mansion hooch was left. Sketchy cloudy. Trash beer, I took one look at it. This is supposed to be medical grade. This wouldn't kill germs. It'd give them a spa day. I needed the hard stuff. High proof level. So I did what any big brain protagonist would do. I just invented distillation Pete. Give me a massive iron pottle lid. And hunt down some hollow reed pipes. Long ones, and make sure they're clean. Pete stared at me. Like I just asked him to summon a unicorn. Bro, are you cooking dinner right now, within minutes? I had the most wild setup. Flexing right in the middle of my mansion's great hall. Iron pot packed with booze, cooking on the fire. Lid flipped upside down with a hole punched through it. Reed tube stuck right in the slot. Sealed tight with wet mud. Running down into a catch, cup chilling in cold water. Everybody was blankly gazing at this contraption. Like I was casting black magic. Is the Lord whipping up a weird soup? Is this some kind of gamer potion? Pete and Sam were low-key tweaking. Because I was boiling their absolute last stash. Of good alcohol for a DIY science fair. Explaining chemistry to these NPCs would be way harder than teaching pigs how to drift. Actually, nah. The flying pig idea sounds more realistic. The pot bubbled hard, steam raced through the reed. Cold water condensed it down. And straight out, the tip drip. Drip drip. Crystal clear pure liquid. Just the aroma could peel paint off the walls. 10 times heavier than the starter beer. It's the ultimate essence of wine. Pete's eyes went completely dinner plate wide. But I had to pull one more major flex. To keep these superstitious folks completely in line, I scooped a spoonful of the pure distilled brew. Walked over to the fireplace and tossed it right into the flames. Whoosha gorgeous. Vibrant blue fireball blasted into the air. Divine fire, the Lord just extracted holy water. He can literally generate sacred flames. Every single person in the room, maids, clerks, guards, dropped to the floor like falling dominoes. To them, I just summoned fire straight out of wine. I wasn't just some standard noble anymore. I was a walking, talking deity. Too easy, I thought, while keeping my face totally stone cold. This isn't holy fire, it's sacred elixir. Meant for sanitizing wounds and wiping out infections. Now, let's actually start the treatment. I heated a small blade over the flame until it was glowing red hot. Wiped it down with some rubbing alcohol. Took a massive breath and just locked in to start cutting. Araya's eyes flew wide open instantly. That alcohol hit her raw wounds burning like liquid lava. She shrieked out loud. A sound that dead-ass rattled every single window in the whole building. And she exploded into a wild, thrashing frenzy. Spider legs slamming everywhere like crazy. Her entire body twisting and bucking like a rodeo bull. Lord, pin her down right now. Lord materialized out of nowhere and locked her giant spider body down with his bare arms. Acting like a living human straitjacket. This absolute unit wrestled a half-ton spider monster using only his bare hands. And she couldn't even budge an inch. I didn't flinch once, couldn't afford to slip up for a second. I went straight to work slicing away all that dead, blackened flesh piece by painful piece. Disinfecting every single open wound with alcohol. Right after every cut. The maids were standing there covering their mouths in pure horror. My brutal treatment looked way worse than some medieval torture method. Araya was screaming her lungs out, crying nonstop. Her gorgeous face totally twisted in unbearable agony. But I kept pushing through with steady hands. Maintaining total focus doing cut wipe. Cut wipe on repeat. Then came a time to close her up and I hit a major roadblock. My standard sewing thread was way too thick, which would literally guarantee a nasty reinfection. That's when I spotted something that made me literally do a double take. Araya's spider abdomen was low-key producing high-quality silk. She was in such insane pain that her body was involuntarily pushing out fine, glistening white threads right from her spinnerets. She was literally stress-pooping silk threads. Then my brain clicked and everything processed weight. That is a natural organic protein-based fiber, which is essentially a top-tier, dissolvable surgical suture, complete with built-in antibacterial properties. That isn't just thread, that is absolute medical gold. I carefully harvested a long strand, cleaned it thoroughly with alcohol, threaded my needle, and immediately started stitching, performing my very first surgery inside an ancient medieval mansion, on a hybrid spider girl using her own bodily silk as stitches. while a legendary warrior held her down forcefully, and an audience of terrified maids watched nervously from their knees. This crazy scenario definitely wasn't in any medical textbook, yet my hands remained completely rock steady. Every single stitch was clean, super precise, and tight. The head, maid named Ella, had been assigned to hand me the medical supplies. She started out utterly terrified of Araya, but as she watched those purple eyes shedding real human tears on a face that looked just like any regular human girl's, that intense fear completely melted away, and when she glanced at me, sweating profusely, hyper-focused, seamlessly fusing torn flesh together with impossible surgical precision, I could literally see her entire worldview completely rewriting itself in real time. Finally came the very last stitch, and the final knot. I collapsed straight backward like a puppet whose strings had just been cut. Both of my arms felt like they were completely filled with heavy concrete, and my entire back was completely soaked through with sweat. Yet Araya was breathing nice and steady. That nasty stench of rot was totally gone, and those gashes were sealed up with clean, precise stitches. Grab some fresh bed linens, some warm meat broth. Keep it easy to digest, got it? Your Highness, she replied, showing absolute respect. Gave Araya a quick look without a hint of fear, and bolted out of there. I was about to pass out cold right there on the hardwood when, Your Highness, we've got an emergency. A knight busted through the doorway, looking like he just stared grim death in the face. There are total scumbag mercenaries lurking outside the mansion. One of them must have slipped away and ratted us out, and now they're demanding. They want you to hand back what they claim is their property. I've been a lord for barely 3 days, and I was already caught up in a full-blown turf war, right on my front porch while drenched in spider guts, with zero sleep and my legs totally dead weight. Just fantastic. I tossed a glance at Araya, breathing chill, all bundled up in blankets, still kicking. Awesome, my premium SSR unit was safe and sound. Now I had to go flex on a rioting mob of mercs at my front entrance right after pulling an 8-hour marathon surgery. And now I gotta drop some smooth political talk. I'm grinding way harder as a prince than I ever did as a corporate slave. In my past life, at least back then I got coffee breaks. Lord materialized right by my side, still reeking of raw battlefield adrenaline. Bring me my princely uniform, the stark white one with the gold accents. He blinked, confused. Shouldn't we be strapping on heavy armor instead? Only fools throw hands, Lord. We're refined intellectuals here. We use diplomacy. And by diplomacy, I mean, I'm about to verbally cook these absolute clowns so badly. Their future descendants are going to feel the second-hand cringe. Out in the courtyard, the entire village had formed a massive crowd. Everyone was freaking out, whispering in total panic. Holy crap, the Blackblade mercenaries are actually here. The Lord totally jacked their prize beast. We are so cooked. One-eyed Barton, along with 7 or 8 bruised up and battered thugs, were blocking my front gate, brandishing blades and heavy crossbows, howling outside my door like absolute wild men. Cernerist, get your coward ass out here right now. You wiped out my crew and stole my valuable merchandise. I've got a legit hunting license, endorsed by Viscount Rosek in person. You're a total nobody, a castaway prince with zero leverage. Just dropping the name Viscount Rosek made every single townsfolk lose 3 shades of color. Now that was some elite, noble weight way above my league. Everyone assumed I'd either cower inside or crawl out, begging for mercy, but the heavy doors swung wide open. I strode out rocking a pristine white royal uniform, embellished with pure gold thread. The imperial thornbird crest gleaming proudly across my chest. Spine completely straight, expression deadpan and cool, not showing a fraction of the exhaustion draining my soul. I looked like I was showing up to a high-class gala, instead of squaring off against armed thugs. Right behind me, Lord stood tall like an unmoving iron fortress, and backing him up, 10 royal knights in full heavy plate armor stepped forward in absolute clockwork formation, and simultaneously drove their blades straight into the dirt. Clang, a single synchronized impact, a wave of pure bloodlust, so insanely heavy you could practically bite it. The whole plaza went dead quiet. Barton and his goons instinctively backed away. Their tough guy aesthetic totally vanished, like spit on a scorching skillet. I walked down the steps and stared right at Barton, the way you look at a random stray barking at moving cars. I heard you were hunting for me. He puffed out his chest, hand over the merchandise. Or I'm snitching on you to Viscount Rosek, merchandise. I repeated the word like it left a toxic aftertaste. Then I pivoted to face all my people. Citizens, look at me, every single gaze locked on. I threw my arms open wide, sunlight making my white uniform literally glow. Like I was some main character angel, I swore a wrist. Seventh Prince of the Empire, the rightful lord of this dark domain. Hereby drop my very first law. Starting today, on these grounds, every sentient being capable of speech, thought, and feeling, whether human, elf, dwarf, or arachnid, gets full immunity under my law. There is no merchandise here. Only my people, any trafficking, abuse, or enslavement of sentient creatures will be treated as the ultimate crime against my crown, completely unforgivable. The crowd's brains literally short-circuited again. Protect monsters and call them citizens? The elderly stonemason, the guy saved from that midnight tax raid, was trembling with raw emotion, his eyes burning with something way deeper than gratitude. Barton laughed like an absolute psycho. Yo wanna protect a monster. You're out of your mind. He whipped out a crumpled piece of parchment with a wax seal. This is Viscount Rozek's official hunting license. It legally grants us the right to hunt non-human, intelligent species. You can't override a Viscount. Let me see that. He handed it right over. Smirking like a troll, read it and weep, kid. I glanced at it, yep. Lekit permit. Then I grabbed both ends of the parchment, right there. Tore it straight down the middle. Rip, rip. Rip it slowly, systematically into tiny confetti pieces. I opened my palms and let the fragments flutter down onto Barton's completely frozen face. Like snowflakes, the whole square went so dead silent. I could hear my own heartbeat echoing. Every single person, townsfolk, mercenaries, knights, turned into literal statues. Barton's one remaining, I was blown wide, looking ready to pop clean out of his skull. His finger pointed straight at me, shaking like crazy. You actually dare? The previous lord's permit. Only worked on the previous lord's turf. I brushed off my hands like I'd touched toxic waste. But on my turf, that garbage is toilet paper. Down here, I'm the only law. Barton looked ready to hurl blood. I had just completely violated both him and Viscount Rozek's pride, and dragged their names straight through the mud, right in front of the entire town. You're cooked, he snapped. Sanity completely gone, boys. Take down this pretty boy. The Viscount's got our backs. His crew drew their weapons. Peep 11 blades getting unsheathed in perfect harmony. Lord and all 10 royal knights, weapons out. Tips aimed right at the mercenaries, moving as an absolute single unit. The sheer aura of death hitting those mercenaries felt like standing right in the path of an avalanche. 3 of them dropped instantly on the spot, legs completely giving out, face-planting in the dirt. Barton's curved blade froze dead in midair, like someone literally hit pause on his whole life. Lord flashed right in front of Barton, with his steel resting an inch from his throat. The dude could literally feel the freezing metal on his skin. These weren't just standard town guards. These were elite Imperial Royal Knights, the absolute apex predators of the Empire, even taking orders from a disgraced prince. They'll smoke you without even blinking an eye. Barton's ego vanished as pure survival mode kicked in. I walked up close, stared down at his terrified expression, and hit him with my most charming grin, which low-key came off way scarier than any threat. 2 options here. 1. I execute you all right now for trespassing illegally, armed intimidation against a lord, and straight-up breaking imperial law. Your heads end up as chamber pots for Viscount Rozek. His face flashed ghost white too. I drop a letter to the church exposing how your beloved Viscount Rozekar is secretly conspiring with non-human factions. Just imagine how fast that investigation gets messy. His color completely drained. 3. Drop every single thing you own right on the ground. Then you can walk away. His complexion shifted through every shade in the book. The blade edged closer. Move it or lose it. He dropped his gear, his gold, his entire stash. His goons followed suit, dragging themselves out of town, looking like the saddest parade on the planet. Completely exposed, broke, and thoroughly humbled. The crowd went wild, screaming, "Long live the Lord! Long live the Lord!" They were living for it. A ruler who's an absolute badass, fair, and protective. Who wouldn't ride with a guy like that? But right before Barton rounded the corner to vanish, he spun back, throwing an ugly glare my way. You're gonna regret this. Prince Cross, Viscount Rozek, and your fun times are done. Back inside my study, Pete asked the exact question on everyone's mind. Why didn't you just take care of them quietly? I let out a heavy sigh. Hold up. Do we have funds? Do we have an army built up? Do we even have proper weapons? Sure, I could have ordered Lord to wipe them all out. And then what happens tomorrow? The Viscount's actual military force shows up at our front door and slaughters everybody. They aren't going to care about the actual truth. Their guys ended up dead on my territory, and I seized their assets, period, end of story. I leaned back into my chair. By playing it smart and letting them walk, I bought time. A ceasefire before the storm, just a breather. Could be days, could be weeks. I'm just low-key praying it's enough. Because the timer was low-key, ticking down fast. And I had a spider girl resting up in my guest room. A starving town begging for food, and now a pressed viscount, who probably wanted my head served on a silver platter. Day 4 of being a lord, and this gig is straight-up garbage. Right after shooing away that mob of fanboys, screaming my name outside, I honestly felt like my soul got sucked out through a straw. Performing surgery, playing political chess, and dealing with mental warfare from armed criminals. All in a single day. Being a lord is way worse than grinding at a tech startup. During crunch month. At least back then, I could DoorDash some pizza. I shoved open my bedroom door, totally ready to faceplant onto the mattress and pass out for a solid century, but instead, I locked eyes with a pair of glowing purple irises, glaring at me from the darkest corner of the room. Like a total apex predator, Araya was wide awake and definitely not the helpless, unconscious patient I was operating on earlier. Hell no, she was coiled tight like a loaded spring. Upper body as tense as a drawn bowstring. Spider legs lifted with razor-sharp tips, scraping the floor and making soft SHH. SH. H noises that pretty much translated straight to, step any closer and I will absolutely smoke you. Her silver hair cascaded down like a cinematic waterfall, draping over the important parts of her bare upper body, while somehow making the whole vibe way more dramatic. Snatched waist, insanely dangerous curves, and a face like a porcelain doll crafted by actual angels. While below the waist, she had 8 armored nightmare legs, all wrapped up in my makeshift medical bandages, set up in a textbook combat stance. Top half looks like a limited edition anime figurine. Bottom half straight up xenomorph queen, who even engineered this build. No one can honestly handle that. The room was thick with tension. One goofy slip-up, and she'd skewer me like a shish kebab. Injured or not, a cornered predator is still a menace. We just stared each other down across the room. Her, a wounded beast with every single spine raised high. Me, just a tired guy who desperately needed some sleep. Then my gaze drifted down to her bandaged legs. Not gonna lie, clean stitch work, I totally nailed that. Then down to her stomach, which looked slightly hollowed out from pure hunger. And that's exactly when it went down. A loud grumble echoed as her stomach growled, right in the middle of the most intense stare down of my entire existence. I almost broke character. Araya's whole posture instantly froze. Wait, was that an actual blush creeping onto her ice queen face? Guess even the scariest apex predator needs a snack. Huh? I had a tactical plan, so I turned my back to her, completely exposed with zero defense up, and casually strolled over to the table, totally on purpose. It basically yelled, "I'm not your enemy," louder than any words ever could. I could feel her bloodlust drop by like a solid 1% progress bar. I poured a fresh bowl of clean water and grabbed a steaming roasted deer leg that I had specifically told the kitchen to prep earlier. The rich scent of hot meat and fat flooded the entire room, acting like an ultimate weapon of mass temptation. And then, I carefully set both items down on the floor about 6 meters away from her, close enough to stay secure, yet far enough to chill out low-key. I plopped down on a chair across the room, crossed my legs, locked my fingers, and just waited it out. Your place, Spider Queen. Stay petty and starve, or grab a snack and keep your pride. Araya was totally conflicted. I could literally sense the inner civil war behind those purple eyes. Spider brain human food is definitely SUS. It's a massive trap. He only saved you to pull some weird flex. Spider stomach rumbling, shut up and just eat the grub. Spider brain, yeah, but our ancestors though. Spider stomach rumbling intensifies like crazy. This mental breakdown dragged on for a full 10 minutes. I literally almost dozed off right there. Look, bestie, eat it or leave it. But that meat is getting cold AF. Your emotional armor makes the Maginot Line look like a flimsy picket fence. Right when my patience officially hit 0, she finally twitched a single leg, the one hurt the least, reaching out slowly like a surgical tool. The tip hooked the edge of the plate with the pinpoint precision of a claw machine that actually scams nobody, and slowly, with maximum caution, dragged it closer. Her gaze stayed locked on me the entire time. I sat dead still, wearing my most supportive grin, though inside I was screaming, "Let's go." She hesitated for one more second. Then pure starvation smashed her last defense to pieces. She grabbed that deer chunk with her bare hands and tore into it like an absolute beast. Zero table manners, zero chill. Just raw desperate. Thankful eating juice dripping down her chin. Steam puffing out total destruction of that food. It was genuinely peak cinema right there. Because it proved one major thing: trust. A tiny little green shoot finally pushing through the dirt. And right on cue my system popped off. Ding, target arachnidaria. Basic survival needs met aggressive vibes. Slight dip, trust levels. Connection unlocked. Current progress 1%, new feature unlocked. Species stat dashboard. A full info panel lit up in my field of view. Name Araya, race demi. Human arachnid status. Badly beaten, weak, starving. On high alert, affection -50. Pure beef and paranoia. Racial traits hyper silk. Barely unlocked. Multiple string types including battle thread. Tougher than titanium medical thread. Basically organic. Self-dissolving stitches and sticky trap thread. Heavy military, medical, and industrial potential. 360-degree multi-lens sight. Hidden behind totally normal-looking eyes. Paralytic venom inactive. Can be tweaked into a sleeping drug or instant lethal poison. Can scale any vertical wall at insane speeds. Weaknesses: scared of fire. Spider lower body is her ultimate weak spot. Their culture is totally broken and fiercely reclusive. Strategic worth, god tier. Her silk alone could completely reinvent armor, gear, crafting, and modern medicine. System alert, keep feeding her and supplying water ASAP. Unlock basic textile tech right now, fam. My chest was pounding. I didn't just save some random beast. I literally struck gold. A walking defense contractor. A biotech startup, an absolute solo tech prodigy. Bulletproof armor threads. Bioabsorbable surgical sutures. Advanced anesthetics, high-grade cables. Literally every single perk on that screen was worth way more than my entire patch of land. I stared right at Araya. With a massive hype of Columbus discovering the new world. The absolute greedy eyes of an angel investor. Bejinga $1 trillion unicorn startup in a garage. Araya looked up mid-bite, caught my unhinged vibe and froze. She scrambled backwards into the dark corner and put her guard straight back up. What's this shady human plotting now, bro? I suddenly realized my intense crypto bro face. Spotting a gold mine was probably giving major creeps, and quickly shifted my expression to friendly neighborhood vibes. She finished off the venison leg, chugged down the water, and some healthy glow finally hit her cheeks. Energy rushing back in her frame, and along with it, her brain cells firing up again. She evaluated me. This exact human who defied a corrupt lord's direct orders, who threw hands with elite mercenaries just to save her, who slapped brutal yet life-saving meds on her raw wounds, who handed her food with zero strings attached. Everything she ever knew about humanity screamed, they are toxic. Selfish, manipulative liars. Yet this guy completely broke the mold. Not even close to the stereotype after a long, heavy silence. Her cracked lips parted, she was farming courage. Probably way more guts than it took to take on those hired guns. And then she broke the ice, dropping her first words in human tongue, rough and raspy, yet crystal clear. Like a crisp wilderness stream, youthful, hesitant, utterly defensive. Why did you bail me out? Those amethyst eyes locked onto me like heat-seeking missiles, trying to pierce straight through my soul. Aren't humans supposed to be absolute scum? The atmosphere froze dead in its tracks. Araya's purple gaze was still drilling into me. Like twin laser pointers, why did you save me? 4 simple words. An ultra-basic question with 0 safe answers. My brain instantly went into overdrive mode, running simulations for the optimal PR move. Option A, out of pure justice, way too cringe. Even I wouldn't buy my own bullshit. Option B, because you're drop-dead gorgeous. Fact for sure, but saying that out loud is an instant express ticket to Creepville. Absolute trash for long-term alliance building. Option C, because your silk prints money like crazy, and you're essentially a walking federal weapons manufacturer. Technically the most valid truth, but guaranteed to nuke any potential teamwork for the rest of eternity. This wasn't just a random query, this was final boss territory. Deciding whether I secure a legendary companion or wake up with a venomous spider stinger through my chest. Time to channel my inner Oscar-winning actor energy. I stared right into her eyes, pure and genuine. Absolute zero cap energy while dropping my lines. Because in my book, there's no such thing as bad races. Just bad folks. I only pulled you out because you were a breathing soul lost in the woods, bleeding out and begging for a hand. Boom, nailed it. Facts wrapped nicely in about totally legit. just heavily trimmed down like a polished resume. Meanwhile, my eyes, totally by accident, I swear to God, wander down south. Silver locks cascaded like moonlight silk across her shoulders, conveniently guarding the sensitive zones, while totally turning the whole vibe into an absolute distraction with that insane, snatched waist. Low-key reveal. Skin like smooth jade, shining bright in a campfire glow. And right below that 8 armor-plated death, legs radiating. Here I'm gonna wipe out your whole bloodline energy. Half angel, half demon. Literally the kind of character design that would break the internet. If she ever went live on Twitch, back in my old reality, doing absolutely nothing, she'd hit trending #1 in under 30 seconds flat. Amused while keeping up my flawless saintly compassion face when my system pinged. Hostility levels dropping hard. Trust at 10%. Affection -50. Confusion standing at 35. Let's go. My Oscar-worthy acting career was peaking. I pressed forward softly. Those mercenaries out there, they weren't the first humans to terrorize your kind, right? That question completely opened the floodgates. Her eyes went pitch black as that tiny flicker of warmth I built up got completely swallowed by a massive wave of grief. First, she let out a bitter laugh. Those guys were just the latest pack of bloodthirsty jackals. Then she laid it all out for me. Her tribe used to reside in a bright sunny valley, resting right at the base of the Dragonspine Mountains. Golden bell blossoms blooming everywhere. They just wanted peace, chilling, and weaving cloth, nursing hurt beasties back to health, spinning gorgeous fabrics out of their own silk. They'd even roll up to human markets to trade cloth for food, and Saul people were definitely spooked of them. Sure, but business was business, until some snob lord named Locks took over as the new ruler of that province. He didn't give a damn about taxes. He wanted live spider girls to cash in, fetching insane bags of cash on the capital's black market. Their silk was top-tier luxury worth an absolute fortune. So he marched an army down and torched their whole valley, unleashing poisoned arrows at their warriors and throwing capture nets over their women. Those golden bell blossoms stained completely red that day. The survivors bolted west under their queen's direct command, running all the way to this exact forest. My foes thinking they'd finally be safe, but big plot twist. The old master of lightless territory, that absolute clown whose mansion I'm squatting in right now, played arachnid hunting like it was his favorite hobby. He'd ride deep into the woods alongside his knights, sever their heads right off, and display them on his walls like flexing trophies. Araya's mom kicked the bucket, shielding her with an arrow straight through the gut. I felt my knuckles turn white. The few survivors fell back to the deepest, blackest cavern they could track down. Zero sunlight, zero grub, just freezing misery, starvation, and a slow-ass grind to the grave. We've got less than 50 heads left, Araya whispered, mostly old folks and toddlers. They're dropping like flies from famine. Hypothermia, sickness. I'm the last able-bodied warrior standing. I couldn't just sit on my hands and watch them fold, so I snuck out to hunt some provisions. And that's when those bounty hunters ambushed me. She wrapped up her sob story. The room went dead silent, except for the firewood crackling. My chest genuinely ached. This was basically systemic slaughter with extra steps. Some high-class snob treated them like chattel, while another treated them like circus attractions. Homestead wiped out kinfolk, massacred an entire species on the absolute verge of extinction, squatting in a hole and waiting to flatline. Any decent human being would be pressed hearing this trash. But your boy isn't just a decent human being. I'm also a hustler. And barely 0.3 seconds after the empathy hit, my brain started cooking up a genius scheme. A doomed tribe with zero leverage whatsoever. Which means if I bail them out right now, I lock in maximum riding or die loyalty for pennies on the dollar. An elite race possessing high-tensile muscle fibers, silk, medical-grade sutures, organic paralyzing toxins, and god-tier wilderness survival instincts. About to be acquired for the absolute dirt-cheap price of a few meals and a roof. This isn't a problem, chat. This is a turnkey starter pack straight to my front door, fully loaded with an entire operational supply chain. My breathing hitched for a second. I had to physically force my expression to stay locked in, heartbroken and outraged hero mode, instead of Silicon Valley venture capitalist, who just stumbled on a billion-dollar unicorn startup, selling out for pocket change mode. I stood up and began pacing back and forth across the floor, eyebrows furrowed deep, looking like a dude grappling with a massive ethical dilemma. Total Oscar-worthy performance. Pure acting masterclass. I needed her to genuinely believe this choice was heavy for me, that I was putting everything on the line out of sheer moral duty. And not because I was mentally crunching. My massive return on investment, I stopped cold, spun around, locked eyes dead with her, and dropped the bombshell. Lead me to your people. Araya's pupils dilated down to tiny pins. Her whole body locked up. Lead a stranger to their final hidden refuge. Their last safe haven bought with the blood of their kin. She started shaking her head. No, I can hook you up with chow, shelter, and a future. Her brain straight up fried itself. I could literally see the words, food and future, slamming into her psyche like absolute asteroids. Those concepts were so foreign to her current living nightmare that her system couldn't even compute them. But I wasn't finished because I'm no charity running a soup kitchen. I'm a strategic business partner. I let my smirk edge up just a fraction, my gaze shifting from warm to laser-guided focus. Đổi lại, tao cần sự trung thành và đam tơ của mày. Không phải quả cáp, chẳng phải cứu rỗi. Đây là một vụ giao kèo. Cô ta chân chân nhìn tao, và tao đọc được ngay khoảnh khắc. Cô ta ngộ ra bản chất thật sự của tao. Chẳng phải thánh nhân, cũng đáo phải cứu thế chủ. Chỉ là một kẻ phản bội, mà nói thật nhé. Điều đó có khi lại khiến cô ta tin tưởng tao hơn mọi bài giảng đạo đức hão huyền nào khác. Vì mấy kẻ mang danh thánh thần thì khó đoán vãi. Nhưng một gã bày tỏ thẳng thừng gã muốn gì, thì hợp tác với nhau mới dễ sống, sâu vào trong rừng sương mù. Sâu đến mức ánh sáng cũng phải bất lực chẳng buồn chiếu tới. Avea lướt qua mấy lùm cây nhẹt tựa bóng ma. Mấy cái chân nhện di chuyển êm du trên lớp rêu ẩm ướt. Trong khi tao ở đây này, nền giày bôm bốp qua đám bùn lầy như con voi say dầu. Hít thở cái thứ không khí ẩm ướt đến mức phổi sắp mọc cả nấm đến nơi. Cái đường này cua gắt hơn cả mấy lời hứa của sếp cũ tao nữa. Mà sơ sẩy trượt chân ngã xuống cái hố nào đấy, thì xác định đáo ai thèm tìm thay tao luôn. Lốt lùi thùi bám theo sau tao y như một cái tủ lạnh bằng sắt vô cảm. Tay lăm kiếm, đảo mắt xăm soi mọi ngóc ngách. Gã này đích thì là một cái cao an ninh chạy bằng cơm, nhưng lại kèm theo hội chứng quản lý cơn giận dữ. Cuối cùng thì Avia cũng dừng lại trước một bức vách đá khổng lồ, bám đầy dây leo và rêu phong. Cô ta vươn tay ngắt đi một vài sợi tơ bạc, nhỏ xíu gần như tàng hình, đang giấu mình trong các kẽ đá. Đúng kiểu hệ thống chung cửa của nhà nhện rồi. Bức tường trượt ra êm thít, không một tiếng động. Một lối vào bí mật đỉnh cao thực sự. Công nghệ thế này khéo khiến mấy bộ phim điệp viên cũng phải ghen tị. Rồi cái mùi quái quỷ gì sộc thẳng vào mũi tao, bùn non, ẩm mốc, thảo dược mục dứa, và trộn lẫn sâu bên dưới tất cả những thứ đó. Là cái mùi đặc trưng không lấn đi đâu được của bệnh tật và tử khí. Mặt tao nhăn tít lại ngay lập tức. Avia liếc nhìn tao với vẻ mặt đầy hổ thẹn, nhưng chẳng thốt ra lời nào. Bọn tao bước hẳn vào trong. Cánh cửa đá đóng sầm lại kín mít sau lưng. Tối thui tối mù, và khi mắt tao đã quen với bóng tối, thì tao chính thức thấy thế giới địa ngục trông ra sao. Cái hang động rộng lớn vãi chưởng, như phần bụng bị khoét đống của một ngọn núi. Nhưng ở đây hoàn toàn chẳng có lấy một chút sự sống. Chỉ toàn những bức tường ẩm thấp giăng đầy màng nhện rắc tơi tả. Từng giọt nước nhỏ tong tong xuống những vũng nước bốc mùi. Cùng hàng tá bóng người đang co ro ở mọi góc tối. Đồng loại của Avia đấy. Và tình trạng của họ còn thảm hại hơn gấp nhiều lần lời cô ta kể. Hầu hết toàn người già và trẻ nhỏ. The business she's in is Jeeps walk. Ánh mắt vô hồn, trong bọn họ chẳng khác nào mấy cành cây khô khốc. Chỉ trực chờ giá vụn thành cát bụi. Kẻ thì ho khủ khủ, người thì nằm im bất động chẳng nhúc nhích. Vừa thoáng thấy bóng dáng tao với lốt bước vào. Mấy đôi mắt tưởng chừng đã chết ấy bóng bừng cháy dữ rồi. Nhưng đáo phải kiểu ánh mắt thân thiện gì đâu. Mà là kiểu tao chỉ muốn xé xác tụi mày ra rồi nuốt tươi. Chúng nó hè lên dữ tợn, lũ con người chết tiệt. Sao chúng mày tìm được đến đây? À, con đồ phản bội khốn nạn. Mấy chiến binh người nhện trẻ tuổi, số ít ỏi còn sót lại. Lập tức thủ thế sẵn sàng chiến đấu. Chân nhện giơ cao, năng độc nhe ra đe dọa. Sự căm thù tuôn trào từ bọn họ nóng rực như hơi hắt ra từ lò luyện kim. Vãi chưởng thật, đúng là một màn chào hỏi nồng nhiệt ghê cơ. Cảm nhận gió mùn một cái tình người luôn đấy. Sơ sẩy hắt xì một cái chắc tao hóa thành bữa tối cho lũ nhện luôn quá. Mà lòng chắc ẩn của tao cũng chỉ chụt được vỏn vẹn tầm 3 giây là hết cỡ. Right before business brain took the wheel. Bro, this is unreal, they're totally desperate. Starting out here, with literally zero options left. These are honestly the cheapest shares on the entire market right now. Drop one hot meal, and they'll ride or die for you forever. This is straight up the deal of the century. Then, out of nowhere, SHE pulled up. A voice dead-ass pierced right through the chaos. Low-key quiet but flexing insane authority. Every single arachnid instantly muted themselves and dipped back into the deepest shadows. The matriarch stepped out, looking massive compared to the rest. Spider half-built like an absolute fortress. Legs thick and jack covered in gnarly battle scars. Flexing stories from wars I couldn't even picture. In her upper half, man, my throat was bone dry. She was giving early 30s energy in human years. Dark hair flowing wild with a face. Rocking a few warrior scars. That somehow made her look even more fine. Deep crimson eyes flashing like ancient abyss wells. Packed with wisdom forged straight through fire and blood. And her build even rocking baggy animal hide fits. Couldn't hide those insane curves. She was mature, powerful. Thick in a way that just screamed main character energy. Serving pure danger and life force all at once. Majesty and lethal vibes fused into a single being. Now that right there is what a real queen is. That silhouette, that aura. Back in my old world, people would literally worship her. Chill and professional on the outside, while my inner soul was giving a standing ovation. This was none other than Corvanna, the matriarch, Araya's own mother. Her crimson gaze locked right onto me like sniper scopes. You brought a random human in here for what? Her tone could deadass freeze up active lava. You trying to make us his next trophies, or what? Araya completely lost her cool and panicked, stepping right in front of me, with her arms spread wide like a human shield. No, wait, he actually saved my life. He took down those sketchy mercenaries, and patched up my wounds. Look closely. She pointed straight at her wrapped-up legs. He's saying he can genuinely bail us out. Corvanna's icy stare didn't even twitch. Not even a single millimeter human help. You mean, trapping us and flipping us to greasy nobles as toys? Or hanging our skulls up on their living room walls? Just like your past scumbag, Lord, answer me, human. What do you even want from us, our fighters? Or the last threads of our silk? Every single arachnid in that cave was staring me down, like I was a juicy steak sitting on a butcher block. One SUS word, and they would have shredded me to pieces. Before my boy Lord could even unsheath his sword, I flashed a grin, shoved past Araya, stepped right up, and stared the queen dead in her crimson eyes. You really want to know what I'm after? Before I drop the answer, let me school you on your current situation. I popped up one finger. First up, food issues. Your stash of meat is literally rotting in this humidity. Eating that garbage is just poisoning you and ruining your hunts. Corvanna's pupils snapped tight as I raised a second finger. Disease. This damp, dark underground dump is a literal bacteria factory. Your elders and little ones are low-key fading out. From nasty lung infections, gut issues, and gnarly open wounds. Your basic herbs ain't doing jack. A sharp cough echoed through the cave, right on cue. Talk about main character timing, bro. I swept my gaze across every hopeless face in front of me. And the absolute worst part of it all? You guys are completely out of options. You're not even living in this cave anymore. You're just rotting away, literally waiting for the Grim Reaper. 3 hits, 3 dead center bullseyes. Every single arachnid flinched because every harsh truth slapped hard. I just ripped the bandage right off, exposing the delusion they were living in. Corvanna's Ice Queen composure finally cracked for the first time. Period. Pure shock and disbelief flashed all over her face. How the heck did this random human know all this tea? I didn't give her a second to recover. Time to drop the hammer. I stepped forward again, zero hesitation. My aura expanding like I literally own the place. I don't give a damn about your silk. I don't need your warriors. I don't want any random foot soldiers. I'm securing your future. And since you don't trust me at all, which is totally valid, let's lock in a bet. A high-stakes wager where I put my life on the line. Even Lord did a double take at that. Araya went completely ghost white and grabbed my sleeve. Give me just 3 days, and within those 3 days, I'll make your preserved meat last for weeks without spoiling. I'll cure the nasty coughs and fevers of your sick people. And I'll turn this miserable underground dungeon into a warm, well-lit sanctuary. My voice bounced off the cavern walls like absolute prophecy. If I pull this off, your entire tribe swears total loyalty to me. You guys become my sharpest spear and my ultimate shield. If I bomb this and completely fail, my life and my knight's life are yours to take. Do whatever you want with us, no cap. Every single spider. Woman in that room was thinking the exact same thing. This human has officially lost his mind. Corvanna stared hard at me, like she was trying to scan my brainwaves. Hunting for hidden lies, for shady tricks, for the secret trap hidden underneath the trap. She found absolutely nothing except raw confidence. Like I wasn't promising actual miracles. I was just ordering fast food. Her eyes flicked over to the dark corners. Her dying family, the coughing little kids, the starving elders. What choice did she honestly have? Take the gamble and maybe survive, or fold and definitely perish. Mother Araya tugged her sleeve, tears shimmering in her eyes. Just trust in this once, please, and that totally broke her. Corvina closed her eyes and took a deep breath. When she opened them up, all hesitation was completely gone. Pure steel remained, I accept. Her voice dropped down to a lethal whisper. But if this is just another scam, you and your knight are becoming our tribe's next meal. Deal locked, and every arachnid in the cave immediately went back to staring at me. And lore the way you look at a fridge full of snacks. Cold, hungry, doing the math on portions. Lord's grip turned bone white on his sword hilt. His entire physique was screaming. Maximum combat readiness, while me, I was just cheesing 3 days to pull off some magic. With medieval technology in a spider cave, meat preservation medicine, heating and lighting, no electricity, no modern tools, no supply chain, just my brain, my system, and the accumulated knowledge of human civilization. Let's begin, I said. Calm is still water, Araya. Show me the bitter salt your people threw away, and take me to your water source. Because somewhere in this miserable cave was everything I needed to blow their minds again. The bet was on. And every spider woman in that cave was looking at me, and Lord like we were 2 pieces of beef jerky on legs. Their eyes literally said, if you fail, we're eating you for dinner. Lord had his sword hand ready to start, swinging me. I was smiling because I knew something they didn't. I knew chemistry, Araya. Show me that bitter salt you mentioned, and your water source. She LED'd me to a pile of gray rocks in the corner. The arachnid salt mine. I picked up a piece, licked it, and immediately wished I hadn't. My taste buds filed a police report. Magnesium chloride, potassium chloride, calcium sulfate. This wasn't salt. This was a chemistry lab's floor sweepings, compressed into rock form. No wonder everyone has diarrhea. You've been seasoning your food with industrial waste. Then she showed me their water source, a puddle seeping from the rocks, with visible chunks of dirt floating in it, and worms living squirming, swimming around worms. These people had been drinking bug soup and eating chemical rocks for months. The fact that any of them were still breathing was a biological miracle. Corvina, the queen, saw my disgusted face and fired back with ice in her voice. What's wrong, human? Too good for what we monsters survive on. This is everything we have. I ignored her completely. Give me a pot. Clean animal skins or cloth. Sand and firewood. The arachnid looked at each other, like I'd asked them to build a spaceship. Cook rocks, filter mud. The crazy human was at it again. Corvina waved her hand. Do what he says. Let's see what his game is. Step 1. I crushed the bitter salt, dumped it into a pot of the gross cave water, and stirred until it dissolved. The result was a pot of gray, black sludge. That looked like something you'd find in a haunted swamp. The young spider women were already snickering. He mixed 2 disgusting things together and got something more disgusting. Genius plan, human. Step 2. I built a filter, animal skin, stretched over a wooden basin covered with sand, poured the boiling sludge through it, and clear liquid started dripping out the bottom. Every single laugh completely flatlined. Every pair of eyes went dead-ass wide as a young arachnid let out a loud shriek. Even Corvina's frame visibly shook. Step 3. I poured the filtered liquid right back into a clean pot and boiled it down on low heat. No lid at all, just letting the water slowly vanish. The entire tribe went dead silent. 50 spider women holding their breath, staring at a pot of water, like it held the ultimate cheat code to life. The water level dropped lower and lower, getting dangerously close to empty. And boom, right, there was a layer of pure white, crystalline salt chilling at the bottom of the pot, gleaming like fresh powder in the firelight. Flawless, pristine, totally edible. Araya slammed both hands right over her mouth, eyes blown up like giant saucers. The whole tribe straight up hit a system crash, brains short-circuiting left and right. They had been sitting on a gold mine of salt this whole time and had no clue how to use it. I scraped the salt out, walked straight up to Corvina and held out my palm. Tasted her breathing stop cold. She stared at the white crystals, then looked at me and back down at the crystals. Her finger was shaking as she grabbed a tiny pinch and dropped it on her tongue. Pure and immaculate. Not even a hint of bitterness. Real legit salt, the kind their ancestors only spoke of in myths. The ultimate flavor of survival. Corvina's icy expression totally shattered. Full-on mind blown, status major emotional breakdown. What kind of dark magic is this? Not magic, bro, just pure knowledge. She didn't totally get the terminology, but she definitely respected the W results. And that was more than enough. Everyone copy what he just did right now. Run it back. Turn every single grain of bitter salt into this divine white snow. The cave instantly popped off with energy. Spider women who were just sitting around waiting to bite the dust were suddenly smashing rocks left and right, boiling water and filtering solutions like pros. Clumsy as hell, but their eyes were burning bright, with a vibe they hadn't felt in months. Pure, unadulterated hope. Step 1 officially cleared. Now, for step 2 I had. Lord, pull out the wild boar meat from yesterday's haul. I showed Araya how to slice it into clean strips, rubbing that purified salt deep into every single fiber, then hanging the strips up on a smoking rack, crafted from damp wood near a ventilation shaft. The scent that took over that cave. Oh my god, absolute heaven. Fat was sizzling and turning golden brown, salt and smoke mixing together into the most legendary aroma in culinary history. Someone swallowed loudly, and next thing you know, everyone was gulping. The entire cave echoed with a chorus of starving stomachs and desperate throats. 50 pairs of eyes glowed an intense green, locked right onto those meat strips like feral wolves, staring down a helpless rabbit when the very first batch was done. I chopped it up into bite-sized portions. I didn't take any for myself, didn't hand any to Lord or Araya either. I marched right up to Corvina and presented her the plate. Her gaze had totally shifted. Zero shade, zero beef left. Just pure respect, gratitude, and absolute mind-blown confusion on how she's supposed to vibe with an actual human. She took the meat, though she didn't really need it for herself. She carried it straight to the darkest corner of the cave, where a tiny spider toddler, maybe 3 or 4 years old max, looking like skin and bones, was shivering against the freezing stone wall. Corvina dropped to her knees, with a low-key soft side that could literally melt your heart, and gently placed the warm, good-smelling meat right by the kid's lips. The little girl took a bite. Her eyes lit up like a whole Christmas tree. She chewed with her eyes squeezed shut in absolute innocent bliss. That single snapshot, a starving kid tasting actual food for the first time ever, lit up that entire depressing cave, way brighter than any torch could ever hope to do. My system popped off. Tribe survival needs partially met. Matriarch hostility officially checked out. Trust at 35%. Affection minus 35 out of 10. Initial acceptance unlocked on day 1 of the bet. We're halfway there, but then Corvina walked right back up to me. No smile whatsoever, if anything. She looked way more stressed than before. You brought us salt we can actually use. You gave us meat that won't spoil. You handed us enough hopium to keep us breathing. She paused, her crimson eyes staring straight into my soul. But come with me. She escorted me to the deepest part of the cavern behind a heavy web barrier. Lord tensed up, but I told him to chill out. Past the web, the whole vibe of the air shifted. Stronger smells of bitter herbs, severe decay, and straight-up death. 3 tiny spider kids were laid out on beds of dried moss. Skin looking waxy yellow, eye sockets totally sunken in. Breathing so shallow you had to stare really closely, just to confirm they were still kicking. 0 visible marks, no physical trauma. They were literally fading away like candles in a hurricane. Corvina stood over them, and for the very first time, this towering warrior queen looked completely helpless. Salt can preserve dead meat, she whispered as she turned back to me. Those crimson eyes, looking like pools of dried blood, reflecting my own face right back. But can it actually save lives that are hanging by a thread? This nasty wasting sickness has already taken 5 of our little ones in just 2 months. This is our actual nightmare, so tell me. New lord of the lightless territory, can your brains actually fix this? Corvina's question just hung there in the air, heavy like a death warrant. Can your intel save kids who are still alive? Every single spider woman was locked onto me. Even Lord was sweating bullets, but me, I wasn't stressing at all, because I'd already figured out the issue. In under 60 seconds flat, I crouched right down next to those dying kids. Checked their eyes, totally cloudy. Felt their foreheads burning up with a major fever. Checked the moss beds underneath them, soaked in absolute filth. Stood right back up and brushed off my knees. This isn't a disease at all. Corvina's head shot right up. What? It's definitely not a curse either. I pointed at their disgusting water puddle, then at the piles of waste scattered around the cave floor. Your water is full of invisible parasites. They crawl inside your stomachs and eat you from the inside. Your waste breeds more parasites. They get into your food, your wounds. The air, they're everywhere. You're not sick, I'll let that land like a hammer. You're poisoning yourselves. Dead silence, every arachnid looked like I'd slapped them across the face with a fish. Their entire understanding of why they were dying. Curses bad luck. Angry spirits. Just got demolished by a construction worker. From another dimension, I didn't give them time to argue. 3 rules, and all non-negotiable. Rule 1, all water gets boiled before drinking. Anyone drinks raw water, broken legs. Confused spider faces everywhere. Rule 2, dig a pit 100 meters downwind. All bathroom business happens there. Anyone goes in the cave, they eat what they left behind. Horrified, embarrassed spider faces everywhere. Rule 3, this area is quarantine. Only caretakers allowed near the sick. Everyone who touches a patient scrubs their hands with salt. Every time, weird rules. No cop. But I just turned rocks into edible salt 20 minutes ago. So my credibility was through the roof. Nobody said a word. Corvina whipped around and roared at her tribe. Did you not hear him move now? Do you want our children to die? The queen's authority hit like a freight train. Everyone scrambled next. I raided their herb storage. Found some plants that looked suspiciously like purslane and dandelion, both legendary. Anti-inflammatory herbs from my old world. Had airy of mashed them into paste. Then I pulled out my secret weapon, the little flask of distilled alcohol I'd brought from the mansion, poured it on clean animal hide, and started swabbing the infected sores. On the children, what are you doing to her? A young arachnid shrieked. I ignored her, completely cleaned every pustule. Applied the herbal paste, wrapped them up. Done, now we wait. Their lives are in their own hands. And then we waited. The cave transformed around us. Clean water boiling everywhere. Outdoor latrine dug and operational. Smoked meat hanging from racks. Saw production running at full capacity. For the first time in months. This place had order. But every heart was focused on that quarantine zone. Behind the web curtain, silent still. The whole tribe holding its breath. Is this human a savior or just a better liar? The sun was setting, the bet's deadline approaching. My internal clock is literally glitching out. Fingers crossed this actually pans out. Because I am way too young to be arachnid snack food. Then a sudden wail pierced through the web curtain. No death groan, no agonizing final gasp. Just a hangry little squeal like, yo, where's my grub at? Easily the sassiest, most dramatic little diva cry I've ever witnessed. A caretaker burst out from behind the partition. Tears streaming down face, voice totally cracking up. Matriarch, she's finally conscious. Amia is awake. Her high fever broke completely. She's starving and straight up demanding food. 3 seconds of dead, heavy silence. And the cavern erupted. She made it. She's alive. It's totally real, an absolute miracle. Spider women grabbing each other, full-on sobbing, screaming and laughing hysterically. Months of heavy dread shattering like thin glass. The emotional dam broke, and everybody was drowning in feels. Corvina, the legendary Iron Queen, the baddest, unbreakable warrior. Watch little Amia peek her head out past the web, peering around with wide, curious eyes. Super alive, her crimson eyes instantly welling up. Waterfalls of tears just pouring down her face. As she turned to me and this proud, fierce, never back down queen dropped down to one knee, followed by arachnid matriarch Corvina. Every single spider woman in the cave dropped down too. Young, old, wounded. All taking a knee with hands over their hearts. Heads bowed in the sacred oath of their ancestry. We, the proud arachnid tribe, hereby swear eternal loyalty to the Lord of Knowledge. Cernarist, your word is our absolute command. Your foes will get shredded to pieces by our silk. This sacred vow, witnessed by our ancestors, will never ever be broken. Those words echoed across the cavern walls, sounding like divine thunder straight from the gods. My system started going completely ballistic. Bet completed. Corvina affection at 95. Worship milestone unlocked. First, non-human civilization officially reeled in. Massive payout. 500 civilization points secured. Basic textile technology unlocked and loaded. Basic architecture unlocked. System progress bumped to 8%. 500 points plus 2 brand new tech trees in the bag. I didn't just want a basic bet here. I basically just jump-started the Industrial Revolution. On the inside, I was totally doing backflips. On the outside, I was radiating peak calm, benevolent deity, main character energy as I helped Corvina up. Starting today, you guys aren't monsters. Nor are you prey. You're my people now. Corvina's crimson eyes were blazing with pure devotion. Just give the order, my lord, all our silk. Everything we own is yours to command. Wait, no. You guys don't quite get the big picture yet. I held up a finger. With your silk, we can craft high-tech cables. 100 times tougher than the kingdom's finest rope. We'll be hoisting boulders the size of houses easily. Finger number 2, we can weave fishing nets so hyperfine. We'll haul tons of catch right out of the southern sea. Finger number 3, we can manufacture medical sutures that the human body can just absorb naturally. Wounds healing up flawlessly every time. My eyes locked dead onto Corvina's powerhouse frame. And best of all, we can forge armor way lighter than chainmail. Way more flexible than leather. Tough enough to tank a sword slash. Literal body armor that's about to make every single knight in the Empire look like they're rocking some weak pajamas. Every single arachnid's eyes went completely huge. Their silk, the exact thing they'd always been hunted for, wasn't just low-key valuable, it was an absolute game-changer. Then I pulled out my final move, a raw scroll, and slammed it open right in front of everyone. A blueprint sketched completely in charcoal. No dank caves, no dark holes in the dirt, actual houses. Rows of legit wooden cabins featuring massive windows. A weaving hub, a communal kitchen setup, a medical station, and even a sick playground for the kids. A whole village where humans and arachnids could vibe together. Slap bang on the border between lightless town and a misty forest where actual sunlight hits. I held that blueprint high, acting like it was the holy grail itself. It's time to ghost this dump. Say peace out to the freezing cold, the endless dark, the tragic deaths, and the total despair. I spread my arms wide, basking in the sun, ready to build a real, legitimate home for us all. 50 pairs of tear-soaked eyes were dead-locked onto that blueprint, like it was a direct portal to heaven. And honestly, for them, it totally was. Lord put his whole back against that heavy boulder, blocking off the cave entrance, and pushed hard, making the massive rock grind, and slowly slide completely out of the way. Warm golden sunlight flooded into the pitch black, like liquid paradise. An elderly arachnid right at the front froze dead in her tracks, her weathered hand reaching out while shaking violently, trying to physically grasp the light. Sunlight, she muttered under her breath. The actual scent of sunlight. A solitary tear slid down her ancient face. Right behind her, 50 spider women stood frozen solid, staring at that expanding block of pure warmth, like they'd genuinely forgotten what the sky even looked like. Because honestly, they had. Some of the younger ones had never even seen it once. Corvana's massive frame was shaking all over. She glanced back at her people looking terrified, super hopeful, and barely believing this was actually happening. Then she looked right at me, wading out in the open light, took a deep breath, and stepped forward. When the sunshine hit her skin, for the first time in forever, her eyes shut tight and her whole body totally unwound. Like heavy armor, just melting off her Araya, stepped up next, holding a tiny kid, followed by another and another. One by one, all 50 arachnids crawled out of their underground grave and stepped right into the land of the living. It was honestly wholesome for roughly 3 minutes. Then everything completely went south into absolute chaos. Monsters, actual monsters raiding the town. The watchtower guard spotted us rolling up and completely lost his mind. Alarm bells started blaring like crazy. The whole village erupted like someone punted an anthill. People flooded out of their front doors clutching pitchforks, axes, and regular kitchen knives. Some random dude was literally holding a soup ladle. Women pulled their kids close in panic, while the men formed the most tragic excuse for a militia line. Spider demons from a forest, keep the children safe. Even the arachnids were low-key spooked. They'd literally just dodged one major L. And now here were more mortals ready to throw hands. Spider limbs snapped right into battle stance. Spinnerets locked and loaded, claws out. 2 squads staring each other down, totally tilted. Literally one sound away from an absolute bloodbath. Everybody shut the frick up. I threw myself right between both factions and yelled at the top of my lungs, pure aura. Lord stepped up and dropped his ultimate presence. That invisible, heavy-duty pressure. That makes grown adults want to cry and weep simultaneously. The loudest trash talkers choked instantly. Knees buckling, weapons dropping to the floor. Total silence. Look at them. I pointed back at the arachnids behind me. They ain't some random monsters of the week. They're legit citizens from the Dark Zone. They're here to help us build this up, period. They're elite construction pros, recruited personally by yours truly. Anyone who calls them a monster again, I'm hanging you upside down right at the town gate. Every single villager swallowed hard right there. They locked eyes with me, 0 cap. 100% dead serious. I will actually do it. Energy. Then glanced at Lord, who looked way too excited for the hanging. And suddenly everybody remembered. They had absolutely no beef with anyone, ever. My reputation totally carried the lobby. I was the goat who gave them clean hydration, dropped their taxes to zero, and beat armed mercenaries. If I said the Spider Girls were chill besties, then by God, they were chill besties. Kurvana, get the project started. Yes, my lord. And then absolute magic happened, metaphorically speaking, but pretty much close enough. Human builders started framing wooden houses. The old-school way, super slow. Clumsy ropes, way too short. Support beams constantly tipping over. Just your average medieval construction disaster class. Then the arachnids pulled up to help. One warrior effortlessly hoisted a massive log. That would take 4 regular dudes to haul, and locked into place with her 8 legs. Looking like she was arranging fine art. A young spider girl scaled a 6-meter pillar. Like it was nothing, fired silk straight from her abdomen, and wrapped the joints between beam and column. In seconds, that webbing dried instantly. Way tougher than any rope or iron nail any of these builders had ever witnessed. A local blacksmith standing nearby watched. His jaw hit the floor completely, glanced down at the tragic hemp string in his palm, then looked back up at the superior silk binding. My rope is straight-up trash compared to that. More arachnids flooded the job site, acting like the most cracked work crew on Earth. Heavy lifting with 8 legs? Easy win. High elevation spots? They literally sprinted right up walls, spinning. Silk sheets that dried into semi-transparent panels. Super flexible, durable, and naturally insulated. Warm in winter, cool in summer. Integrated AC, keeping things chill. The human builders dropped their gear and just stood their jaw dropped. A framing job that would normally take them a full day. The arachnids smashed out in just 60 minutes. And the craftsmanship was low-key way better than anything they could ever build. This wasn't your average construction project. This was straight-up sorcery with extra legs. Every single drop of fear in those workers' eyes got completely swapped out for pure, unadulterated fan behavior. Master, how did you pull off that aerial trick? Goddess, please show us the web sling thing again. One fearless carpenter marched right up to a young arachnid and started talking with his hands like crazy, trying to pick up high-tier spider architecture cheat codes. She flinched for a second, then tilted her head in pure curiosity. The tension was melting faster than ice cream in a heat wave. By dusk, a brand new village had spawned right outside. Lightless town with rows of neat houses, wide open streets, and a central plaza. The textile workshop and community kitchen already had their structures locked in. This wasn't just fast building. This was literal speed running in real life. When night fell, a massive bonfire was blazing right in the middle of the settlement. Humans and arachnids were finally chilling together. For the first time ever, a local townsman awkwardly handed a chunk of roasted boar meat to a little spider kid. She took a bite and smiled with her eyes shut tight. Her warrior mom reached deep in her pouch and traded back a sweet-scented jungle fruit. One smile, one nod, and a wholesome vibe swept through the camp. That had zero to do with the actual fire. Up on a nearby ridge, I was just observing the whole scene, with Araya right by my side, the moonlight turning her silver locks into liquid glow. I honestly never thought this day would come. She whispered softly. My people and humans breaking bread next to a fire. They're actually happy, she said, turning to me. Those purple eyes completely loaded with total appreciation. You pull this off, Lord. Soren, all of it the matriarch wanted me to let you know. Our tribe will be your sharpest spear and sturdiest shield for all generations to come. And as for me, she stepped in closer. Cheeks flushed pink. Everything I own belongs to you. The moonlight, the gorgeous girl, and that straight-up confession. The atmosphere was getting dangerously romantic. My brain immediately slammed on the emergency brakes. Whoa, we're going way too fast right now. I signed up for an empire-building simulator, not a visual novel dating sim. We were supposed to be scaling infrastructure, not speedrunning the romance dialogue route. I coughed, took a calculated half step back, and put on my most epic professional leader face. This is only the beginning, folks. I stared off dramatically into the horizon, toward the endless desert and distant mountains, acting like I was plotting out my ultimate master plan, when in reality, I was just trying to keep my heart rate from flatlining. The next morning at sunrise, everyone gathered around the new village square, fully expecting me to raise a flag, featuring that classic royal lion crest, the ultimate heiress family symbol, pure, high-key, noble aesthetic. I shook my head as Lord handed me the folded banner. I grabbed the flagpole, took a deep breath, and let it fly. A blazing red flag, no basic noble lion. No imperial crown. Zero aristocratic nonsense. Just two symbols stitched right into the fabric. A rugged bronze gear and a golden stalk of wheat. Locked together, absolutely inseparable. Industry meets agriculture, raw knowledge paired with pure survival. The absolute foundation of any real civilization. I slammed that flagpole deep into the ground. Putting my back into it, and man, it stood tall. That vibrant red banner caught the crisp morning breeze and snapped wide open right above us. Humans and arachnids alike just stared up at it, totally lost, vibing with curiosity, completely spellbound. It wasn't just another out-of-touch noble's crest. It was a legit promise. The old, broken world ends right here, and something fresh. Something built on actual innovation, teamwork, and the ultimate refusal to just roll over and die was ready to pop off, rising up from a most forgotten corner of the empire. Right out in the open, literally right under everyone's noses. Everything was going smoothly, absolute WS all around. New Village was thriving, spider women fully integrated. My reputation was sitting at an all-time high. I was basically the medieval equivalent of a main character tech CEO. Then I made the executive decision to stroll through my own town. Easily the biggest L of my entire life. That stench hit me dead on like a garbage truck filled with toxic waste. My poor nose got absolutely violated by a cursed cocktail of human waste, rotting garbage, and gross animal entrails, plus some sketchy mystery juice that had been fermenting down there. Since the absolute dawn of time, my stomach immediately did a chaotic flip-flop. My face turned seafoam green, and my eyes started leaking. This wasn't even a proper town. It was literally an open-air biological hazard zone. The streets were just sloppy dirt paths, stomped down barely flatter than the surrounding filth, blended into muck that I honestly didn't even want to analyze. Let's just say the giant green flies buzzing around this mess were having the absolute time of their lives. Some local woman walked right out of her house with a totally deadpan expression and proceeded to dump a bucket of deeply suspicious, stinking sludge right in the middle of the pathway, acting like it was just another casual Tuesday. Because in all fairness, to her, it totally was. Nearby, a bunch of half-naked kids were running wild in the dirt. One of them slipped and face-planted straight into a puddle of something. That was definitely not H2O. He just got right back up without even flinching, grabbed a handful of the nasty stuff, and hurled it at his buddy. Mai was twitching so hard and fast, it could have powered a small neighborhood. Even back in my past life, even deep out in the boonies, I had literally never witnessed anything this aggressively unsanitary. These folks didn't just skip basic hygiene class. They had zero clue the concept even existed. Doing your business literally wherever you stood wasn't viewed as a bad habit around here. It was practically an honored cultural tradition. Your Highness, you're looking a bit green. Lord chimed in, looking genuinely bewildered because to him, this was just normal life. Villages just smell like this. That's just how the game is played. I masked my face with a cloth and kept moving forward, casing the entire settlement like a ruthless health inspector. What I ended up finding was straight up foul. Almost every single villager was dealing with some nasty skin issue. Gnarly red rashes all over their faces, necks and arms. Some spots scratched raw and leaking gross yellow pus, crusted over with totally disgusting scabs. The kids had it way worse though. Literally every child had visible sores and severe skin infections, with rashes covering their tiny little bodies. Then I caught the sound of crying coming from the local blacksmith. A little boy maybe 7 or 8 years old, sporting a minor metal cut right on his arm. The wound was already super red, swollen up big time and oozing pus. His mom reached for a dirty strip of cloth to wrap it up. That rag was literally gray with filth, crammed with iron shavings and sketchy unknown stains. She was about to bandage an infected wound with what was basically a heavy-duty bacteria delivery system. Hold up. I scared her out of her mind, storming in like that and snatching the rag right out of her hands. You trying to make him lose this arm? Leave this filthy rag on that cut for 3 days and it'll completely rot off. She just stared right at me, looking totally clueless. But we've always done things this way. Always done things this way. That phrase hit me like an absolute lightning bolt. Everything clicked into place right then and there. The kids dying off from mysterious wasting sicknesses. The villagers' chronic rashes. The insanely high child mortality rate. Tiny little scratches turning into fatal infections. It wasn't some dark curse or weak genetics at all. It was just nasty bacteria, viruses, and parasites lurking in the water, the soil, the air, under their fingernails, soaked in their clothes, literally everywhere. in a world that had zero clue about basic hygiene. These invisible killers were way deadlier than any invading army. They were the most efficient silent assassins on the planet, and nobody even knew they were real. A terrifying realization completely slammed into me. I could roll out all the food and buildings I wanted, but just one sudden plague would wipe out the whole lot. My territory's biggest threat wasn't the Viscount or starvation, it was pure filth. I needed a full-blown hygiene revolution, and I needed it yesterday. Lord, back to the mansion right now. I burst through the study doors so aggressively hard that Pete and Sam almost tumbled out of their chairs. Listen up, orders first. Gather every single scrap of animal fat across this whole town. Kitchen grease, leftover cooking oil, waste fat, literally anything you can find. Second, collect massive amounts of plant ash. Hardwood ash specifically, the more the better. Pete and Sam instantly exchanged that classic look of, "Our Lord has totally lost his marbles again." "Look, Your Highness, oil is super valuable. People need it just to cook meals. We've only just started actually eating decently." Tell them they can. Trade their oil and ash for double the amount of smoked meat. If they won't trade, just buy it out at a premium price. Trading top-tier meat for absolute garbage. Cho tàn và mỡ thừa. Đầu óc bọn họ đang quay cuồng chóng mặt. Ngay sau đó tại phòng họp, tôi đẩy một tờ giá thú lên bàn, với đúng hai từ được ghi trên đó. Khối thanh tẩy là cái quái gì chứ? Sam thắc mắc một loại vật phẩm giả kim mà. Gần đúng đấy, nó làm sạch cơ thể, tiêu diệt mấy con ký sinh trùng vô hình gây bệnh, giúp da dẻ khỏe mạnh ngăn ngừa nhiễm trùng. Và tất cả nguyên liệu chỉ cần mỡ động vật với cho thực vật. Trí não của Peter hoàn toàn nổ tung. Anh ta phóng bật khỏi ghế như một tia lửa. Mặt đỏ bừng như quả cà chua ròng lạc đi vì xúc động. Tuyệt đối không đời nào chúng ta vừa mới bắt đầu có cái ăn tử tế. Từng giọt dầu đều nuôi sống cả một gia đình. Ngài lại muốn biến thức ăn thành mấy cục đá mà không ai nhét nổi vào bụng sao? Chúng không phải đá nhưng cũng chẳng phải đồ ăn. Điện hạ xin ngài hãy nghĩ lại. Chúng ta là con người cần ăn để mà sống, chứ không phải để xoa người bằng mấy khối vật lạ hót. Làm từ đống rác rồi tôi để mặc anh ta trút hết cơn phẫn nộ. Rồi tôi mỉm cười nhẹ. Điều gì quan trọng hơn một thìa dầu ăn dư thừa, hay là sự sống còn của con cái anh? Anh ta há hốc miệng rồi lại ngậm lại. Mở miệng lần nữa nhưng chẳng thốt ra được câu nào. Bởi vì anh ta thừa biết những đứa trẻ đã chết, những vết thương lở loét, những cơn ngứa ngáy. Tất cả đều có thật và đang diễn ra ngay lúc này. Nhưng mỡ cộng với cho mà ra được thuốc chữa bệnh á. Điều đó quá điên rồ ngay cả với một gã. Từng chứng kiến tôi biến nước ao tù thành nước suối tinh khiết. Tôi quay sang bảo Sam, cầu vào thị trấn ngay lập tức cho tôi. Đếm từng người đang có bệnh ngoài da lộ gió, đặc biệt là lũ trẻ dưới 10 tuổi. Rồi hỏi các bô lão trong 3 năm trở lại đây, có bao nhiêu đứa trẻ đã thiệt mạng ở thị trấn này, và bao nhiêu đứa chết vì đói khát. So với những cơn sốt kỳ lạ, tiêu chảy và nhiễm trùng, tôi muốn những con số thật chuẩn xác, những con số cứng nhắc không thể chối cãi. Hãy để dữ liệu phơi bày cho tất cả thấy, kẻ thù vô hình đáng sợ đến mức nào. Sam tái mặt giơ tay chào kính rồi cắm cổ chạy đi. Sau khi cậu ta đi, tôi dịu giọng lại với Peter. Tôi biết anh sợ tôi sẽ phá hỏng mọi thứ chúng ta gây dựng. Anh là một người tốt Peter à. Anh ta sụp xuống ghế thở dài não nề. Chỉ là tôi không thể tài nào hiểu nổi điện hạ à. Ngày mai anh sẽ khắc cốt ghi tâm. Tôi bước đến bên cửa sổ, nhìn ngắm ngôi làng mới đang bừng sáng dưới ánh mặt trời. Tri thức có thể biến những thứ vô giá trị thành báu vật, đáng giá hơn cả vàng 10. Ngày mai chính mắt anh sẽ được chứng kiến. Rồi tôi sực nhớ ra mình còn thiếu một nguyên liệu nữa. Một loại tro đặc biệt có tính kiềm cực mạnh. Loại tro mà nếm vào là rộp cả lưới. Tôi hướng mắt ra khoảng sân ngoài kia, nơi một cô nhện tóc bạc, mắt tím đặc biệt nào đó đang tò mò khám phá khung cảnh xung quanh. Avia, cô bé ngẩng phát đầu lên rồi chạy lon ton tới như một cuốn cưng hăng hái. Vâng thưa lãnh chú Son. Tôi bồi ngay cho cô bé câu hỏi có lẽ là kỳ cục nhất trong lịch sử mà người ta từng hỏi một di nhân nhện từ trước đến nay. Trong rừng của cô có loài cây nào cho trắng muốt mà nếm vào sẽ làm tê rát cả lưỡi không? I need a super rare type of ash. I casually dropped in the war room, acting totally nonchalant, like I was asking for basic grocery items. Araya gave me a curious look while Kravana looked super suspicious. Pete and Sam looked like they were low-key updating their LinkedIn profiles. Specifically, I need this one wild plant that, once you torch it and brew the ashes in water, the liquid literally numbs your tongue off. Tongue-numbing ash right there. Yeah, I know how wild that sounds out loud. Araya shot Corvana a silent SOS look. Corvanna stared straight into my soul for a solid minute, probably running diagnostics to see if a demon hijacked my brain. Then she dove deep into her ancient mythical database. There's actually this flora called scorchrit. Its sap literally melts skin on contact. Our tribe has always steered clear of it. It is insanely toxic, bet. That is literally what I'm looking for. I almost flipped my chair out of pure excitement. The squad stared at me like I just pitched. Eating glass for breakfast. The most lethal poison flipped upside down. Transforms into the ultimate remedy. I dropped that line in my absolute best mastermind voice. Pete and Sam immediately shared that signature, tired coworker glance. Their lord actually wanted to waste rare cooking oil and a flesh-melting death plant to whip up bath bombs. This wasn't even regular alchemy anymore. This was straight-up dark magic crafting. Off to the creepy forest we marched. The most bizarre raid party in history. Arachne warriors scouting the perimeter, acting like 8-legged tour guides, followed by human lumberjacks, stepping through the brush like jumpy rookies. Watch your step, bros. That is a man-eating vine. A carpenter yanked his boot back so fast, he nearly wiped out. Big yikes. Thanks, boss man. We found the scorchrit cluster. These plants look straight-up cursed, pitch dark red, with charred roots screaming, stay away from me. Do not touch. The human workers backed up out of pure survival instinct. Spider-Girls harvest, humans bundle up and carry. Let's roll. The arachnid squad got straight to business. One warrior scaled a tree, shot silk right at scorchrit, and yanked the entire specimen out of the dirt. In one smooth pull, another sliced through thick roots with her blade legs, like a hot knife through butter. Super clean, insanely efficient, while completely terrifying the humans, who were still sweating bullets over how to avoid dying, just by looking at it. Meanwhile, the spider gals already cleared half the field, and something wholesome started to unfold. A human slipped, a spider leg caught him just in time. An arachnid ran out of webbing mid-harvest. A human tossed her extra backup, rope instantly. Awkward tension melting away through shared hard work. Racial barriers breaking down through pure synergy. Agricultural tech progression meets social integration. Not gonna lie, being a lord is actually a vibe. Back at the home base mansion, my backyard had officially leveled up into an outdoor mad scientist lab. Phase 1. Roast the scorchrit down to pure white ash. Phase 2, chat. Build a makeshift water filter and run liquid through the ashes. What dripped out the bottom was crystal clear, with a slight oily sheen and smelling like burnt stone. Is that seriously the tongue-scorching water? Pete asked, totally bugging out instead of answering. I grabbed a feather and dipped it right into the lye. S-E-Z. The feather curled up, got completely fried, and dissolved in under 3 seconds. Half of it just straight up vanished into thin air. Everyone gasped so hard, I low-key thought they'd trigger a vacuum. Several townsfolk stumbled back in pure shock, staring at that liquid. Like it was straight up cursed, no cap. Even I was low-key shocked by how insanely potent this lye was. But I kept my poker face locked in. Listen up. Sometimes the most toxic stuff is the ultimate remedy. I echoed, pointing right at the lye bucket. This wipes out all those invisible germs on your skin. Then I gestured toward the other vessel, bubbling with hot yellow animal fat. When you mix these two together in the exact right proportions, poison stops being dangerous. It turns into absolute physical purification. Everyone's expressions shifted from terrified to pure awe. They had zero clue what nerdy words like proportions meant, but they knew their lord was cooking up something way beyond ordinary human comprehension. All right, let's get down to business. I rolled up my sleeves, grabbed a wooden paddle, and posted up over the pot of liquefied fat. Pour the lye in nice and slow. A brave worker trickled the lye into the oil. Cue the hiss. Thick white smoke and a whack odor. Keep stirring in one direction. Do not slack off. I went ham stirring like my life depended on it, which, reputation-wise, it totally did. The mixture turned murky, thicker, and smelled way worse. Everyone held their breath collectively, glaring at the pot, like it held the ultimate secrets of the universe. Minutes flew by, sweat dripping down my face, my arms burning, and then the concoction separated. The oil floated straight to the top, while nasty gray sludge sank right to the bottom. Oil and water totally split apart, leaving behind nothing but an even more vile stench. Dead silence in the room. Every single face that was hyped up with excitement just 3 minutes ago was now locked in place, with the look of someone watching their souffle totally flop. Total fail. A worker mumbled, popping the hype bubble instantly. Pete's smug told you so expression came back full blast. Sam looked totally crushed. The crowd's vibe plummeted from Peak Mountain, straight down to the ocean floor as Lord stepped right in front of me, hand on his hilt, eyeing anyone in the crowd, thinking of talking trash. But I was grinning ear to ear. Who said it bombed? I tossed the paddle aside and wiped the sweat from my brow. That was just a test run, guys. Now I've got the exact formula dialed in. Without even glancing at the botched batch, I marched over to the backup pot, tweaked the fat-to-lie ratio, and locked it in. Let's run this back, round 2. Same playbook, pour it in. Whisk it, but this time my moves were smooth as butter. Total lock-in, the sticks spinning flawless loops. Minutes flew by, the mix getting murky once more. Though this round, zero separation going on. It kept getting denser, hitting peak consistency. Liquid flipped to paste, paste flipped to cream. A totally fresh scent hit the atmosphere. Not grease, not lye. Something entirely different vibe. I stopped stirring and peeped right into the pot. A pale yellowish, semi-solid chunk, just sitting there, sleek and unified. Big upgrades demand some serious patience. No cap. I had the crew dump that hot soap paste into a massive wooden frame lined up with a clean pelt. Then leveled the top flat. Let's sit overnight to cook. Tomorrow y'all gonna witness trash turn straight to gold. I walked away, leaving behind a bunch of onlookers, who were low-key tripping out. Mind blown. Mad suspicious and way too curious for their own good. That yellow blob was chilling inside its wooden box, cooling off in the night breeze, curing into something none of these guys could figure out. Was it the miracle their lord promised, or just a bigger, flatter pile of L's? Nobody had a clue, but everybody was pulling up tomorrow morning to find out, yours truly included. 'Cause let's be real. That first round flop had my heart rate spiking like crazy. Still, no way in hell. I let these medieval peasants catch me stressing. Fake it till you make it, baby. That's the Sigma grind set next morning. Early bird hours. My entire backyard was completely packed like a music festival. Bete, Sam. The artisan Corvana, Araya. Literally every single soul who caught yesterday's mad scientist experiment. All present and locked in on that wooden frame, like it held the cheat codes to existence. The massive question hanging over everyone's heads. Did the Lord actually pull off a miracle? Out of poison and trash, or did we all just waste the night guarding a really flat piece of junk? I strolled out acting unfazed. Saw their faces dead serious and tense, sweating bullets like they were facing capital punishment. It's just soap, guys. Not the nuclear launch codes. Chill out. I squatted down by the frame and poked the top layer. Sturdy, solid. W texture right there. Time for the grand reveal. The crew dismantled the box. The wooden walls dropped away, and there it was. A big, chunky, pale yellow block with a rugged surface. Some air bubbles in it. Smelled like blended fat and ash. Definitely not designer perfume. Total silence. No golden aura. No angelic choir chanting. No flashy effects. Just a lumpy, yellow brick that looked like something you'd dig up from the back of a nasty kitchen sink. Sam, bless his ride-or-die soul, walked up closer, broke off a tiny chunk, and took a quick whiff. His facial expression literally screamed SUS. Weird and super mid. Your Highness, what on earth is this even supposed to do? Literally everyone in that courtyard was thinking the exact same thing. Is this some kind of weapon, a weird building brick, or just a really goofy paperweight? Pete's face had already gone full coat mode. That said, I knew this oil was a total L, but I just flashed a grin. Go grab me the absolute nastiest water you can find, and the kitchen's most foul rag, the one that's low-key turned into a literal fossil. No cap. A guard came back hauling a basin of water so cursed. It actually had chunks floating in it, and a rag so caked in grease. It had practically reached historical artifact status. This thing wasn't even fabric anymore. It was pure solidified petroleum. Even Yoel winced just looking at the damn thing. I sliced off a palm-sized chunk from the yellow brick and dropped it right into the filthy water. Pete gasped out, bro, you're griefing it. Griefing what, Pete? You don't even know what this tech is yet. I rolled up my sleeves, dug my hands right in, and started agitating first pass. Absolute zero. Second pass, still nothing. Third pass, absolutely nada. The cringe in the crowd was getting so heavy. I could practically taste the salt fourth pass. Snow-white foam, tiny little bubbles at first, then way more, then absolute avalanches of thick, creamy snow-white suds erupting right out from between my fingers, multiplying like they had a personal vendetta against all grime. Within seconds, my hands were buried under a mountain of the cleanest, most aesthetic lather anyone in this medieval world had ever laid eyes on, and the scent was so fresh and crisp. It sliced straight through the stench of that dirty water, like a hot knife through butter. "Wait, what is that?" someone whispered. "Holy crap, the rock is literally making bubbles." The crowd completely lost their minds. Corvina's crimson eyes went totally wide. Araya slapped both hands straight over her mouth. Pete looked like he just caught a 4K flashbang to the face. But I wasn't even done yet. I yeeted that fossilized rag right into the soapy bath and started going to town on it. The water turned darker and darker by the second. That heavy black grease locked in the rag started breaking apart, disintegrating, surrendering to the foam like it was giving up on its will to live. I pulled the cloth back out looking spotless. Not just kind of clean, not just a slight glow up. Reverted all the way back to its original fresh linen shade. You could actually see the fine weave of the fabric again, while the basin water looked like pure black ink. Every single molecule of filth that had been cemented deep into that rag for probably decades was now floating around in that bucket of doom. Total dead silence, absolute brain lag across the entire crowd. Massive system crash, everyone staring hard at the clean rag, then back at the black water, then straight at me, then glancing at the yellow block, and looping right back to the rag on an infinite glitch loop. Like, bro, what is this sorcery? Pete's hands were trembling low-key so hard. They could legit trigger a seismograph. "Bro, this is magic. You crafted this straight from poison and waste oil." I rinsed my hands, dried them off, and turned to face him, flexing my best divine smile. "Hear me out one more time, Pete. This isn't some sorcery, it's pure knowledge. It's science." Those two words hit every single person in that courtyard, like a church bell echoing from the heavens. Then I spotted the blacksmith and his kid chilling in the crowd, the boy rocking that nasty infected cut. I knelt right down, cut a fresh slab of soap, worked up a smooth lather in clean water, and gently cleaned the kid's super swollen, pus-filled wound. The boy flinched hard at first, then chilled out. Zero burning, zero stinging, just a chill, refreshing vibe as the infection was smoothly washed away. When I wrapped it up and dried his arm, everyone swarmed and the swelling had completely vanished. The pus was totally gone. The wound looked pristine fresh. Pretty much healed. The blacksmith, a literal 7-foot wall of muscle, dropped to his knees so fast the ground shook. "Your Highness, you literally saved my son's arm. My life and my whole family's future. We're yours, whatever you need done." "I'm on it then." Pete walked up slow motion, head hung low, stopping right in front of me, and busted out a full 90-degree bow. The deepest bow I'd ever witnessed from this stubborn old-timer. "Please pardon my ignorance, Your Highness." His voice totally cracked. I was dead wrong. This invention saves way more lives than food ever could. I accepted his apology like a total boss, because that's what legendary mastermind leaders do. Then I held up the yellow block for everyone to check out, and dropped the official name for this weapon against disease and death. I call it soap. The crowd went wild like I just summoned a god. Everybody needed one ASAP for their kids, their squads, their nasty wounds. Don't sweat it, soon everyone's getting soap. But cooking this up requires hands and solid setup. So I'm setting up lightless territories first. Legit factory salary gigs. Free meals provided. Anyone down to grind can apply for jobs. Real wages in a town that literally had 0 2 weeks ago. The crowd went nuclear with pure hype. Then, because my life apparently has a 0 downtime policy, a guard bolted and looking super stressed. "Your Highness." A merchant rolled up straight from Red Iron territory. He claims he heard about our miracles and came to peep. Pete leaned over instantly. "Those Red Iron merchants are sneaky and greedy AF." "Stay sharp," I nodded. Let him walk in. A chunky dude decked out in luxury silk robes, rocking a pristine custom mustache, strutted into my backyard flanked by bodyguards radiating major main character wealth energy from every angle. He shot a casual glance at my water filter setup, showing mild interest. Then his eyes locked dead on the soap in my grip. This guy had been hustling as a trader his whole life. His business radar was way sharper than any knight's blade. And right now, every single merchant, every single survival instinct screaming inside his head, was telling him that the damp, amber brick resting in my palm outweighed actual gold. Man's breath hitching hard, as his pupils blew wide like a starving timber wolf, fixated on a helpless lamb. And I'm just thinking, oh, this is about to get so cringe yet funny. That chunky traitor Marco's eyes were locked dead onto the bar of soap I was holding. The dude was decked out in high-key silk robes, flashed with gold thread everywhere, looking like a walking designer jewelry display, strolling right through my dusty, trash-tier town, while completely missing the irony of the situation, because his entire universe had literally shrunk down to this one yellow bar. He sprinted over, dropping to one knee with a heavy thud, his belly fat jiggling. Oh, supreme and merciful Prince Sorn, please let lowly Marco kiss your noble boots. Your pure radiance outshines the midday sun. The second I heard rumors of your divine miracles, I ghosted all my business deals and rode hard day and night. Bro's acting is so aggressively over the top. He'd easily lock down an Oscar and a Razzie at the same time. He clapped his hands hard, and his personal guards hauled out a bulky chest, stuffed with cheap gold, fake jewels, and sketchy silk, featuring horribly uneven dye jobs on the fabrics, mismatched gemstones that were obviously colored glass, and a gold goblet that was basically copper spray-painted yellow. This was bottom-tier dollar store merch, masquerading as luxury goods. Yet my townsfolk were out here gasping, acting like they'd just discovered ancient relics. These poor villagers had literally never seen anything shinier than a polished kitchen spoon. Marco leaned in close, putting on his smoothest, "Let's make a deal" voice. "Oh, your highness, if you'd be so kind as to drop the recipe for this masterpiece." He proudly threw up 5 chubby fingers, 5 pure gold coins, and the crowd lost their minds. Pete looked like he was about to pass out. 5 golden coins amounted to 2 whole months of taxes for the neighboring wealthy domain. You could literally buy half of Lightless Town with that stack. Every single set of eyes in the courtyard instantly shifted toward the soap in my hand. That wasn't just a basic cleaning tool anymore. That was a literal gold mine I could casually produce out of thin air, but offering 5 measly gold coins for the secret recipe to soap, literally the product that was about to completely redefine hygiene standards continent-wide. Are you actually kidding me right now? That's like offering $5 to buy out the entire iPhone patent. Marco, do you genuinely think my territory gives a crap about your cheap trinkets? His expression instantly twitched. This absolute dump has 0 roads, 0 funds, and 0 resources, yet you're telling me you're turning down cash. Are you out of your mind? I snapped my fingers sharply. Corvina, the Spider Queen, stepped forward gracefully carrying a sleek wooden box, which I popped open right in front of everyone, revealing a tiny, neatly folded piece of textile, tailored into a very specific, high-end style. It was a matching set of luxury women's innerwear, a sleek bra and matching panties, meticulously spun from the finest, rarest silver-white arachnid silk. Under the blazing sun, the fabric glowed like liquid moonlight, weightless as air, plushier than anything this realm has ever seen, with fine lace detailing that would honestly make Victoria's Secret weep. Right into their quarterly earnings report. My mind flashed back to the exact second I handed Corvina those blueprints, with a completely straight face. This is advanced tech textile gear, built for ultimate comfort and structural support, to level up our citizens' overall quality of life. Corvina had straight up stared at the sketch, zeroing in on the 2 overly exaggerated cups for a painfully long time, before replying in the deadpan tone of the century. My lord, your aesthetic is definitely unique. Anyway, I waved the set right in front of Marco's face. The guy literally stopped breathing, his eyes nearly popping out of his skull, not even because of the design, but for the material softer than the finest velvet, and lighter than elven moon silk, a fabric that shouldn't even exist. If he flipped this in the capital to snobby noble ladies, or to the empress, it's an absolute gold mine. A massive game changer's hand reached out shaking. I yanked it right back. Still think I need your cheap box of knockoff jewelry. Marco's face turned completely purple. His high-end luxury goods just got exposed as total trash. Right next to my spider's silk lingerie. This exiled prince was sitting on next-level tech. He couldn't even wrap his head around. But your highness, with treasures like these, why stay stuck in this wasteland? I could score you a mansion in the capital, way bigger than the palace. I shook my head like I was staring at a pathetic tiny bug. You got all wrong, Marco. I'm not just sitting on a gold mine. I'm building an entire empire that prints them. Later down in the meeting room, the real chaos broke out. Pete slammed the table. We need a cash and big on soap. 2 silver coins, a bar minimum. 100 bars wipes out our entire debt. We can pave roads and stack up grain. Hire soldiers. Araya looked like she was going to bawl. But what about the kids and my people? They can never afford that. One silver coin feeds a whole family for a month. Can't we just hand it out for free? Old world corporate greed clashing hard with new world. Pure-hearted empathy, head-on collision. All eyes locked on me, I lean back slow. Tap the desk, you're both right, and both totally wrong. Because you're only looking at one side. I stepped right up to the territory map. Pete bringing in funds for growth spot on. Araya, keeping everyone healthy and looked after. Also spot on, so why not crush both goals? I dropped the master plan, a dual-track system. Track 1, strictly external sales. Targeting merchants like Marco and fancy nobles. Rich elites outside our borders. Soap is a luxury flex, price them through the roof. Their cash will fund our whole homeland. Phase 2, internal inventory drop. Every single registered pad in this shadow zone is getting hooked up with 2 bars a month. For a mere 10 copper pieces, straight up cost baby. Pete's jaw just hit the floor like, bro. That's practically free, we're taking a massive L here. Which is precisely why I'm dropping a brand new tax. To balance out this crazy subsidy, the whole room went dead silent. Enter the sanitation levy. Every single coin collected goes straight into a public infrastructure fund. Every last copper in that vault finances community upgrades. Soap subsidies public bathhouses. Drainage systems worker payrolls. Funds squeezed from the masses poured right back into the masses. Now that's what a legit civilized territory looks like. Pete and Sam looked at me like I was literally explaining quantum mechanics to medieval peasants. Taxes aren't just for the lord to flex and party. Taxes actually vibe check and support the citizens. What? The notification poster went live on the town notice board. Once the locals read, 2 blocks of miracle soap for 10 coppers. Hype filled the air, then they hit the word tax. Absolute crickets, that single word was a deep trauma trigger. The former lords. Century-plus taxation terrorized these folks so hardcore that just laying eyes on the term tax triggered an intense PTSD meltdown. Breathing tax, existence tax. Those old nightmares came rushing right back. And that's right, when the local instigators rolled up. Some scarred ex-guard hopped straight onto a boulder. Don't get tricked, it literally says tax. It's just another tax, same old scam. Fresh coat of paint, just like that ancient breathing tax. Some lanky tall dude chimed right in. He's a total fraud. Using this rock as a cheap excuse to snatch our final pennies. He's no different from the previous tyrant. Down with the scamming lord, and absolutely no more taxes. Give us back our money. The crowd turned super toxic real fast. People who were basically worshipping me 5 minutes ago were suddenly throwing hands in the air and marching aggressively toward the manor. Tax phobia completely wiped out everything gratitude. Logic, basic common sense. A full-scale riot was brewing right before my eyes. Lord materialized right on the front steps. Hand glued to his blade, death aura cranked up to max. The front line of rioters instantly flinched back. Ba just walked past him, pushed his weapon down. Calmly stepped up onto the platform. Faced the furious mob. Zero anger. Zero panic purichil. I hoisted a bar of soap high up. The whole plaza gradually quieted down under my gaze. Looks like you guys totally miss what soap actually represents. And you still don't get what I'm trying to hand you on a silver platter. I let that message marinate, so tomorrow, I'm throwing a massive cleansing festival. For the entirety of Lightless Town. Y'all are going to witness with your own 2 eyes what every single copper you spend genuinely unlocks. Right behind me, the manor gates swung wide open. Dozens of massive iron cauldrons were already lined up in perfect rows. Blazing fires roaring underneath them. Crystal clean water boiling hot. And pumping thick clouds of white steam into the air. A legendary show was about to drop. The wildest flex this town has ever witnessed. And those scarred instigators trying to start drama. They had zero clue what was about to hit them. The town square literally looked like a medieval water park. Designed by an absolute mad lad. Dozens of giant iron cauldrons lined up like steel soldiers. Barf roasting steam high into the clouds. Turning the whole vibe into an instant sauna. Right next to them sat mountains of yellow soap bars. Stacked high on wooden tables. Every single resident in Lightless Town. Humans and arachnids alike were ordered to show up. They stood around the perimeter, looking low-key, suspicious. Terrified and insanely curious all at once. What on earth is he doing with all this water? That's way too much firewood wasted. What if we pay up and nothing even happens? I caught every single whisper and smirked. This is literally a grand opening bathhouse promo event. I'm a literal prince grinding as a bathhouse attendant. My career path is honestly top-tier inspiring. No unnecessary speeches, no extra drama. I just pointed straight at the crowd. Blacksmith, bring your kid up here right now. The big guy nervously guided his son onto the stage. I hoisted the boy's arm up for everyone to witness. That nasty infected wound from days ago was totally gone. Just a fresh pink scar. Zero pus and zero swelling left from yesterday. Soap literally saved his arm. Let that sink in, folks. Today I'm dropping something on all of you. Way more valuable than gold. Or food. I'm talking about basic health. Then I rolled up my sleeves real quick, grabbed a fresh bar of soap, and started stripping the kid right next to a massive wooden tub of warm water as his rags came off. I almost gagged. This kid was caked in so much crust that his skin was basically sporting its own prehistoric fossil layer. Thick dark filth. Armor plating every single inch like heavy body armor. This wasn't a human boy, this was a walking dirt sculpture. Seriously, this isn't a human kid. This is a sedimentary rock formation with limbs. I dunked him right into the warm water, lathered up the soap, and went to town scrubbing. Thick white foam exploded from my hands, and as I aggressively washed his back, rivers of pitch-black sludge streamed off his body, transforming the clean tub water into pure liquid shadow. Layer after layer of grime was literally melting away, peeling off and surrendering to the almighty soap. And right underneath all that filth, actual healthy wheat-toned skin that nobody, including the kid himself, had ever seen in their lives. The crowd went totally feral. Look at his back. The crust is peeling off. Is that his actual skin color? The boy stiffened up at first, but then completely melted into the relief. The chronic rashes that had been torturing him for years suddenly stopped itching completely. The burning sores finally chilled out. For the very first time in his existence, he felt genuinely clean, letting out this soft, quiet sigh of absolute pure comfort. That single tiny sigh hit every mother in the crowd, like a literal freight train hitting them instantly. They all thought the exact same thing at the exact same time. Oh my God, my child has those exact same rashes. Those exact same blemishes, that identical grime, bro. I hoisted the little guy right out, wiped him down dry, and showed him off to the squad. A totally brand new kid, looking spotless, glowing and vibrant as hell. Straight up like someone had traded a mud golem out for a legit human child. His mama burst from the pack, sprinted dead-ass onto the stage, snatched her boy, and started tracing his face with trembling hands, no cap, feeling that smooth skin while low-key sobbing uncontrollably. My baby, my sweet baby. She collapsed right on her knees in front of me, her forehead slamming hard into the wooden platform. Thank you so much. Thank you, Your Highness. That totally broke the damn chat. My kids got rashes too, honestly. Please save my baby. Me too, please. I'm begging. Mothers hauling babies and dragging toddlers along, flooding toward the stage in a massive tidal wave of desperate maternal love. And this wasn't just a riot. It was way more intense than that. The absolute unstoppable force of parents who had just witnessed an actual miracle and wanted that same energy for their own kids. Lord stepped up looking like a solid wall of steel. Everyone line up right now. Whoever pushes gets disqualified instantly. Corvina barked out commands, and her arachnid squad formed a living barrier. Their massive spider bodies were literally peak performance. For crowd control, they cleanly separated the women and kids from the shoving guys, set up orderly lanes, and totally prevented any stampedes. I grinned right from the stage. Absolute dub secured today. Everyone's getting a turn. Trust me. Arachnid sisters, go ahead and distribute that hot water. Pass out the soap. Every single citizen gets a warm bath. The square flipped into the world's biggest open-air bathhouse, spider women moving in pairs, hauling massive pots of boiling water around, like they weighed literally nothing, delivering them straight to makeshift bath stalls, crafted out of timber and animal hide. More arachnids handed out soap bars to the endless line of people. And when one spider girl gently placed a bar into a human kid's hands, using her intimidating-looking leg, and spoke up in broken human slang. Don't be scared, wash up clean, buddy. Every single trace of tension between both races just evaporated right into the rising steam. The women went first alongside the kids, then the elders, followed by the guys. The whole town took the very first real bath of their lives. Laughter completely replaced the bad vibes. Pure amazement replaced all fear, kids splashing around, mothers shedding happy tears low-key, grown men staring down at their own clean hands, like they were seeing magic for the first time. One white-haired old dude stepped out of stall, completely weeping. He held up his hands, staring at them while shaking hard. Wait, so this is what my actual hands look like? I honestly had no clue, man. He had literally lived his whole life without seeing his own skin clean even once. Man, that part hit different. That hit right in the feels. After the baths wrapped up, everyone gathered around a massive bonfire, rocking fresh, washed clothes. Folks were finally vibing and connecting with each other. Yobak, minus all that filth, you're low-key looking glowing. Shut up, your missus is giving off major glow-up energy. So clean, no cap, ha ha ha. Laughter echoing everywhere, pure vibes only. Actual moments unfolding. Laughter the sort this settlement had honestly never witnessed. Pete stood right behind me, tearing up big time. My lord, you've literally pulled off an absolute miracle. It's no miracle, Pete. That's just what society looks like. At square one. I commanded Sam to run a comprehensive census. Starting tomorrow, every single soul out here. Human and arachnid logging names. Ages, the whole works. This entire territory was about to get its act together. And right over by the square's edge, that scarred agitator who'd been screaming his lungs out, down with the fraudulent lord just yesterday, was washed up rocking his finest patched up tee, staring at the bonfire, taking in the kids sprinting around, acting like regular kids for the very first time. His face kept shifting through shame, confusion, and something that felt suspiciously like yearning. He just stood frozen there forever, then quietly stepped up to that little wooden box I set up, the official hygiene tax drop box. He fished out a lone copper piece. His absolute last copper coin, stared right at it, glanced up at me chilling on the steps, and dropped it straight in one single coin. One soft clink signaling the final death knell for the old world. The opening chord of something fresh. I caught all of that grinning. Phase 1. Revolution officially completed then, just as I was about to kick back. For the first time in weeks, my system went completely nuclear inside my brain. Milestone unlocked. Baptism of civilization. Territory hygiene, citizen health, public loyalty plus civilizational identity have all officially maxed out critical thresholds. Crunching the rewards, I braced myself mentally. Probably a couple hundred points max. Maybe some basic tech tree unlock rewards. 1 civilization points, 10,002. Unlocked agricultural age. Advanced tech tree, 3 special reward. Complete blueprint basic urban pipeline network. 10,000 points. My brain straight up blue screened. That was higher than everything I'd racked up total, multiplied by 10. But the ultimate jaw-dropper was that last drop. Urban pipeline network. An all-inclusive blueprint for citywide water and sewage infrastructure. I stood frozen right there on the manor steps, staring down a system screen only visible to me, completely paralyzed while behind me. An entire town was throwing down, having the absolute best night of their lives. Inside my head, pure nuclear-grade, military-grade hype was hitting. I just went from medieval soap peddler straight to urban planner. In one single notification, this game literally just ramped up 3 difficulty tiers. Suddenly my system went completely buck wild. Notifications stacking up back to back, like a cursed inbox hidden quest. Complete foundation of civilization. Chapter of cleanliness rating absolute perfection. Bonus 1,000 civilization points secured. Fresh tech trees unlocked. Basic medical hygiene and city planning. My brain straight up glitched out. The virtual tech tree, right in my vision, was expanding, like a hyperspeed force time-lapse. Too massive. Brand new branches bursting out from the main trunk. One glowing, vibrant green life and healing basic medical hygiene. The other shaded stone gray order and structure. City planning, I dived into the medical tree. First disease theory basic unlocked. Sterilization methods unlocked. Surgical sutures locked, 500 points required. Herbal encyclopedia locked, 800 points required. Then I laid eyes on the final entry. Penicillin cultivation concept. Unlock requirements. Penicillin. The undisputed god of modern medicine. The ultimate drug that has saved more lives than literally anything else across human history. And the system handed me a concept backed by question marks. For unlock conditions, are you dead ass right now? You just slapped the luxury menu of a 5-star restaurant right in my face and went, want some grub? First go ahead and evolve a pig from single-celled organisms. That's your definition of a reward. Inhale, exhale, take a breath. Moving on in, I opened up the city pipeline blueprint, and my jaw totally dropped. A full 3D model materialized straight into my brain. Complete urban sewage system. Individual household drainage. Linking down to underground ceramic pipes. Engineered with precise angles of decline. Feeding straight into primary collection channels. Flowing down to a 3-stage settling and fermentation treatment facility. Outside the town, every single detail, every measurement, Every single connection point was scientifically flawless, customized completely for materials obtainable in this world. This wasn't just some rough sketch. This was the entire public sanitation. Infrastructure built for a modern metropolis, scaled down to a medieval tech level. With this thing this gloomy, town could transform from an open sewer wasteland into actually livable ground. This was the true bedrock of civilization. Forget swords or castles, it's all about top-tier plumbing. Then pop goes one final notification. Profound alliance with the arachnid established. Covenant officially certified by world laws. Special status activated civilizational symbiosis. All arachnids get a permanent 5% boost in work efficiency. Their loyalty permanently locked at absolute worship. I could actually feel it. A faint yet undeniable bond pulsing between me and Corvana. Like an invisible thread tying us together across the distance. Not literal magic per se, more like raw trust, manifested into physical form by the universe itself. That reward was low-key worth way more than 10,000 points. Cause no amount of tech can ever replace actual people. Who'd deadass risk it all for you, Your Highness? Your Highness, Pete came sprinting straight at me. His crinkled face squished into the biggest grin I'd ever seen. He looked like a wholesome, happy raisin. They're literally hyping you up out there. They're saying you're low-key, not just an exiled prince. You're an absolute G who dropped pure hope. I shook my hand, not Pete. We just cleared out the MUD. He blinked twice. His smile frozen, but whatever keeps breeding this mud is still lingering if we don't fix the roots tomorrow. All that trash is going to grow right back. Pete's brain completely buffered for a solid minute. After 60 years of life, this guy had never questioned why things were gross. They were just dirty. Because folks were lazy, period, in a story. Trying to flex public health infrastructure theories on a medieval accountant was like explaining Wi-Fi to a goldfish. Not happening tonight. Follow my lead. Summon Sam and Corvina to my study right now. Inside the study, 3 completely lost faces stared me down across the map table. The party was going wild outside, and I just dragged them indoors. This better be major. I grabbed a sharpened charcoal stick and started sketching on a brand new sheet of parchment, drawing sharp, precise, confident lines drafting along. Low building that was coming together. Barracks, Sam guessed out loud. But then I chopped it up into tiny, identical cubicles. Way too cramped for beds, each one featuring a weird, massive jar-looking thing built straight into the floor. Hooked up to underground trenches, leading to a collection pit hidden in the back. Sealed with wooden boards, 3 faces leaned in closer. 3 sets of eyebrows scrunched in a maximum confusion mode. Pete looked like he was trying to decipher an alien language. Sam's head tilted so far to the side, he was practically horizontal. Corvina, whose people possessed millennia of top-tier architectural lore, was running her brain at maximum processing capacity, trying to hack this design. She totally failed. This structure held 0 weight, served 0 aesthetic purpose, stored nothing useful at all. It made absolute 0 sense in any system she knew. I finished up the sketch, took a step back, and admired my masterpiece. A complete architectural blueprint for a public restroom, dry latrine edition, complete with subterranean waste disposal and basic modern sanitation features. 3 faces stared at it, 3 brains rendering absolute 0 thoughts. I tapped that big, jar-shaped structure with my charcoal stick and gave them my most enigmatic cult leader smirk. Guess what this bad boy is for? 3 blank stares. The answer, obviously, was dropping a deuce. I was about to completely revolutionize how an entire civilization did their business, and somehow, this was low-key the biggest flex I pulled off yet. 3 people, 1 drawing. 0 comprehension. Pete, Sam, and Corvina stared at my blueprint, like I had literally drafted an alien spaceship. Pete spoke up first. Your Highness, is this some brand new underground grain silo setup? A grain warehouse rigged with private individual cubicles? What are we doing here, storing a single kernel per room? Are we seriously hooking every grain of rice up with its own studio apartment? Sam snapped his fingers, going wild. I got it figured out. It's a military stronghold, and those tiny spots are totally sniper nests. Those underground jars are obviously packed with boiling oil for defense. Talk about a 200 IQ tactical move. My liege, boiling oil? Are you for real, buddy? You are dead-ass close to the truth. And yet somehow so wildly off base that you basically looped all the way around the globe of being wrong, only to end up crashing right back down at an entirely different wrong answer. My last shred of hope was Corvina, the absolute tech god the master builder herself. Surely she could. My lord, looking at this purely from an engineering standpoint, this old blueprint is straight up nonsense. It holds zero structural weight and offers literally no defensive utility. Those partitions are way too cramped for anyone to even live inside. Maybe it's some kind of niche religious shrine that my mortal brain cannot comprehend. I literally threw in the towel. Completely, my mental CPU was totally fried. Trying to drop basic science on you guys is harder than engineering a nuclear reactor. With my bare hands, I tapped the blueprint firmly. It's not a grain silo, not a fortress, and not a temple. It's a public restroom, guys. The dead silence that followed could have easily been bottled up and sold commercially as soundproofing foam. Pete's expression cycled through pure confusion, total blankness, and finally landed hard on. Our Lord has officially lost his mind. Sam's jaw was dropping open and shut like a gasping fish, while Corvina's multiple eyes flickered rapidly in what I can only describe as a massive system reboot. A bathroom? An entire building dedicated strictly to dropping the kids off. In their universe, that daily chore was just handled against random walls, behind bushes, out on random street corners, or literally anywhere your legs decided to give out. The sheer concept of constructing a whole architectural marvel just for that was like building a massive cathedral just to sneeze in. You're not capping right now, are you? Pete's voice was low-key shaking. Do I look like I'm playing games with you? I pointed straight out the window at our freshly scrubbed and genuinely happy citizens. Why did we wash everyone down yesterday? Because they were absolutely filthy, right? And why were they so gross? Because they live surrounded by their own toxic waste. Those microscopic monsters I call germs breed like crazy in feces, crawl right into open wounds, contaminate our drinking water, and ruin the food supply. Taking a bath was just step one. But if everyone keeps dropping bombs on every single street corner, those nasty germs are going to march right back in. This toilet isn't just some random building, guys. It's a hardcore fortress against disease and swift death. It is the true foundation of an actual civilization. They didn't vibe with the logic, and honestly, I didn't expect them to. I just needed them to lock in and build it. The next day, the gossip spread like wildfire. Have you heard? The Lord is blowing cash on building a literal palace just for pooping. The public reaction was far from ideal. Down at the local tavern, Scarface and his crew were having a field day roasting it. Check out this latest masterpiece from our divine savior, a golden outhouse. Why not just hand over the cash instead, bruh? Starting today, let's dub him the Poop King FR. Even irregular NPCs were totally clueless. Isn't the alley corner working just fine? Been doing our business there for decades low-key. Nobody's dropping dead, so I paid zero mind to them. Arguing with pure clowns is an L anyway. I'ma let the results flex for themselves. I pulled up with my ultimate dream team. Corvana bringing that high-tier spider architecture energy, and veteran stone mason Latre, the guy from that messy midnight incident, who now treats me like his absolute goat. Let's get this collab going. Arachnid handled the skeleton frame, while Latre's crew locked down the base and plumbing. Latre had zero clue what we were actually building, yet his vibe was straight up elite. Whatever you say, boss man, no cap. Even if you told me to charge straight into the abyss, I wouldn't even hesitate. Then came the exact reason I summoned Corvana here. The flooring and lower panels gotta be 100% waterproof, sleek and a total breeze to clean up. Regular stone tiles would take ages and drain the bank. Do your spider squad got any secret sauce for this? Corvana paused for a sec, then her lower body shifted. A thick strand of web shot flying out. But this wasn't your average shiny silver thread. This one was glowing amber and semi-transparent, super sticky, giving off strong tree sap vibes. We actually dropped two distinct kinds of silk. This secondary type, when blended with a special red clay from the deep western woods, hardens into a coat tough as leather, smooth as crystal, and completely impervious to water. We call it spider glue. My brain literally went full supernova. Tough, slick, waterproof, mixable with native dirt that's basically organic concrete. Back in my past life, I spent years grinding on job sites, memorizing concrete grades just to stun on clients. I could recite structural blueprints straight in my sleep. And now I had an organic cheat code, farmed directly by my own crew. These spider girls were no basic monsters. They were a walking self-sustaining industrial manufacturing plant. Corvana, you're an absolute legend. I gripped her hand in pure hype. Her massive frame instantly locked up. Was that a low-key blush on the Ice Queen's cheeks? She quickly snatched her hand back as you command. My liege with her tone pitching slightly higher than usual. Construction speed ran to the next level. Human builders dug out trenches and prepped lumber. Under Latrey's strict supervision, while the arachnid gals raised the entire wooden frame in a day, secured by web bonds way tougher than any steel nail. Then dropped the grand spider glue showcase. Crimson soil blended with golden silk, whipped up by spider limbs in a smooth, rhythmic, almost ritualistic motion. The mixture was slathered across the rough wood floors, leveled out flat using smooth stones, transforming that dull wood deck into a mirror finish. Seamless, ultra-glossy, shining a deep, rich brown when doused in liquid. The water droplets slid right off instantly, without soaking up even a single drop. Latrey reached out and touched it with shaking hands. Crazy smooth build. Locked down tight, no cap. This is a total game changer, he muttered under his breath. Then he turned right back to the arachnid girls. He was low-key terrified of earlier. Bowed super low and dropped the exact line I was waiting to hear. You guys are dead-ass the best builders on the planet. I'm so pressed, I ever doubted y'all. A huge W for cross-species unity. Pulled off entirely through the magic of some seriously busted good materials. Fast forward 3 days, and the restroom was officially done. Sleek, structurally sound, and totally waterproof. Beast leather roof, complete with ventilation windows. Natural lighting pouring straight in. That insanely aesthetic spider resin floor. You could literally check your vibe in it. Private stalls with actual doors that lock from the inside. Privacy while doing your business. A luxury concept that didn't even exist anywhere in this realm. I threw a grand opening ceremony with maximum hype. Listen up, absolute legends of Lightless Town. Who wants to pull up first and try this out? The crowd's reaction. Absolute dead silence. You could hear a pin drop. The guys just shuffled around and side-eyed each other. Scratching their heads like, it's clean for real though? Way too clean. Walking into a spot like this just to, I don't know, feels mad weird. Too much pressure. I'd totally freeze up. Nothing would even come out. One dude laughed nervously. Not gonna lie, Your Highness. I'm suddenly not even pressed anymore. Peace out, he bolted. Same here. I'll stick to my usual spot. Let's bounce. They scattered like startled pigeons. Every single one of them. Sprinting right back to their beloved alley walls. And trusty old bushes while my gorgeous, state-of-the-art 5-star public restroom sat there totally ghosted. Spotless and completely untouched. Just me, standing all alone by the front entrance. With a painfully awkward grin frozen on my face. As a lonely evening breeze blew a random leaf past my shoes. Literally the most humbling L of both my lives. I literally built you guys a luxury 5-star restroom experience. And you're ghosting it? Fine, whatever. You want to keep dropping on walls? Let's see how you feel. After I introduce a little concept called heavy motivation, my pristine 5-star facility just stood there glowing in the moonlight. Like an unappreciated masterpiece, totally empty, completely untouched, and looking fresh. While literally everywhere else around town, people were happily contributing to the local scent profile. At their go-to corner walls, I built you an upscale private bathroom with doors, locks, and a shiny floor you could check your fit in. Yet you chose a dark wall right next to some stray dog. You want the wall? Get? Let me show you. What happens when civilized leadership collides with stubborn peasant bladders? The friendly neighborhood persona instantly vanished. What took its place was the cold, calculating stare of a guy who survived his past life through toxic corporate politics and ruthless construction site power trips. The next morning at the town bulletin board, a brand new notice was slammed up in giant bold letters. I stepped out rocking my signature Dark Lord drip, the menacing black fit, totally skipping the soft white aesthetic. Lord stood right behind me, built like an absolute tank, with 10 fully decked out knights backing us up. This wasn't some weak-ass, please cooperate vibe. This was a straight-up, try me and find out formation. Listen up, people. I'm officially dropping the Public Hygiene Management Act. Chapter 1, Article 1. Starting right now, all public spaces, streets, alleyways, town squares, and building walls are permanently off-limits for any kind of unsanctioned personal waste dumping. Instantly, the crowd started whispering and complaining. Pure salt, talking about how I can't dictate where they take a leak. What's next? Is the guy going to start taxing our breathing? I totally ghosted their complaints and cranked the volume. Article 2, anyone caught ghost peeing against walls is getting slapped with a 10 copper fine. No excuses, no extensions. And just like that, the crowd lost their minds over 10 coppers for taking a piss, ranting that this is just another total scam. Convinced I'm a complete fraud, recycling the same old playbook under a fresh coat of paint. I threw a freezing death stare across their tilted faces and kept rolling with Article 3. All collected fines go straight into the public treasury fund. Every single coin is going toward restroom upkeep, facility expansion, and major sanitation upgrades. We're talking monthly receipts and absolute transparency. Audited by Pete, because I'm not trying to pocket your cash. I'm legally forcing you to live your lives like actual civilized human beings. Any objections? Or are we all on the same page? Total crickets. Not a single soul dared talk back with my main knight resting his hand on his sword. But every single expression screamed, this has got to be the most brain-dead policy ever created. And good luck trying to enforce this nonsense, bro. They were all thinking the exact same thing. There's no way he can track all of us. This town is way too massive. What, is he going to station guards at every single alley corner? I could literally read their smug, overconfident thoughts. Oh, you guys think this is a joke? You really think hiding in a crowd is going to save you? Bet. I love that main character energy. Let's see how long that attitude holds up. I pulled out a shiny bronze badge from a sleek black case, featuring a broom crossed with a blade, and pinned it right onto Pete's chest. Pete, you're officially locked in as the chief. Sanitation Inspector of the Lightless Territory. I'm assigning 2 elite royal knights to roll with you. Anyone who tries to block or interfere with your job is officially defying my ultimate authority. You have full clearance to strike first and report later. Pete stared down at that badge, like I had just strapped a live grenade to his uniform. He instantly knew this was the most hated side quest in history. But he also knew turning me down was an option. Yes, your highness. I won't let you down. Now go wake these fools up, Pete. And thus began the most unhinged law enforcement campaign this fantasy world had ever witnessed. A terrified, exhausted accountant paired with 2 absolute murder machines, patrolling the blocks just to catch unsuspecting citizens mid-squat. Things went completely south on target number 1. Some random dude dropping stream against a corner wall. He spotted them closing in, didn't even bother pulling up his sweats, and bolted away, leaving behind nothing but a puddle. And Pete's utterly cooked ego. Target number 2. An old lady squatting behind a ruined shack. Pete stepped up flexing his best official vibe. Ma'am, per the Lord's fresh mandate. She glanced up, flashed a sweet smile with basically 0 teeth, and said, oh my goodness, officer. I was just resting my achy back, checking out these fascinating ants on the pavement. She got to brush herself off and waddled away, leaving behind a steaming pile of evidence. And Pete on the verge of a total meltdown. By noon, the enforcement squad had caught absolutely nobody. The whole town was treating them like a traveling circus act. Locals gathered round just to watch and roast them. Pete's face was so red it could fry an egg. His elite guards, guys who'd wasted actual enemy troops in combat, were now chasing randos sprinting around, with their pants around their ankles. The professional embarrassment was straight up astronomical. Then Pete caught an earful aloud, obnoxious voice echoing from a nearby alleyway. What kind of trash ordinance is this anyway? I'm right here handling my business. Let that old clown come try and smell me, haha Scarface. The exact same troll who'd been calling me Poop King in the tavern. Pete's eyes narrowed into slits. His nostrils flared wide. Something inside this timid bookkeeper straight up snapped. He gave the knights a sharp hand gesture. They ghosted to both ends of the alley, like absolute shadows of steel. Scarface wrapped up his business, pulled up his pants, turned around, feeling way too confident, and stared straight into the chest plate of a 7-foot knight blocking the exit. Then another one loomed right behind him, both with blades drawn ready to roll. Pete stepped out from the shadows, framed in the light, delivering a voice colder than anything I'd ever heard from him. Greg, you are officially under arrest. Scarface's liquid courage evaporated, though his mouth kept running. Arrested for what? Dropping a deuce is my basic freedom. My constitutional right you can't. Pete completely blew his top. Your freedom is forcing everyone else to choke on your stench. Your freedom is why the blacksmith's kid almost lost his arm. Your freedom is turning the clean sanctuary our Lord gifted us back into a pigsty. Each sentence hit like a step forward, each step forcing Scarface back on his heels. The quiet guy who used to cower at loud noises was radiating pure, main character energy. The crowd piling in a watch was completely shook. This was Pete, the meek little desk jockey. He was exuding boss-level intimidation, drawing power from deep within. Pete halted inches from Scarface's nose, raised one bony finger. Hygiene Management Act, rule number 2. 10 copper coins right now, or else. I won't pay. Make me if you can. Right behind him, a knight flashed his blade out, by a mere single inch. Frigid steel brushed against Scarface's nape. Every single word he meant to spit out vanished instantly. His knees turned completely weak. He knew deep down in his bones with zero doubt that one more drop of sass or attitude meant his head would literally roll. He fished out 10 sweaty copper coins with shaking hands and slapped them into Pete's palm. Pete didn't even spare him a glance. He pivoted toward the crowd, lifted the coins high so everyone could get a good look, strode over to the collection box and dropped them in one by one. 10 crisp, echoing clinks, each sound hitting like a brutal wake-up call, right across every single spectator's face. The petty smirks vanished, the toxic jokes died out. That toxic they can't touch us energy was gone. Right there in that alleyway. The law was totally legit, the consequences were real. And that wild, old man backed by 2 absolute killing machines was no joke that afternoon. The streets were cleaner than they had ever been since this town was first built. The public restroom welcomed its very first hesitant visitors. Guys walking and looking like they were marching straight to their own execution, but biting the bullet and walking in anyway. But nighttime was a completely different vibe. These shady folks learned to wait out the daylight, then sneak off to hidden corners for their sketchy operations. Daytime was pristine, but post-sunset, that familiar nasty stench crept right back. Pete dropped by my study to brief me on this, looking totally drained, saying they're just hiding better now. Your Highness, we can't patrol 24/7. I tapped the desk and flashed a grin. We don't need extra patrols. We need to level up the stakes. Pete's posture straightened up on pure reflex. New rule, first offense. 10 coppers, second offense gets doubled. And the third time someone gets caught. I pause for maximum cinematic tension. They get to scrub every public toilet in town for a solid week straight. Pete broke out in instant goosebumps all over. His jaw dropped so low it almost hit the tabletop. That was the absolute nuclear option. No minor fine, no jail time, no physical beatdown, just pure toilet cleaning duty. 7 days of sanitizing, one entire town left behind. This punishment matched the crime so insanely well. There was basically art and not a single soul was ever going to risk that again. Not for any shady alley corner in the universe. Pete stared at me, looking utterly shook, with terrified awe, saying, Your Highness, you were low-key terrifying, while I leaned back in my chair and locked my fingers behind my head. I prefer to call it being civilized. Pete bolted out of my study like his life depended on it, which in a way it kind of did courtesy of me. They clean every toilet for a whole week as punishment. Punishment hit the public bulletin boards the very next morning, and the public reaction was an absolute masterpiece. No salt, no sade, bro. Straight up deadass. Low-key, terrifying vibes hit the tavern. Those exact same guys who were clowning on my patrols a second ago went completely ghost mode, clean all the toilets for a week. Some poor dude totally butterfingered his mug, and it smashed on the floor. Another guy started low-key crying. Bro, I think I snuck behind my house last night. Every single guy in that tavern locked his knees. So tight, you could have crushed walnuts between their legs. That mental picture was way too wild. Imagine being the town's main toilet custodian. The whole squad watching, kids pointing fingers. Your neighbors rolling on the floor. 7 straight days of hardcore bonding with the entire town's biological output. That's not just a penalty, that's total social cancellation. Scarface Greg, the ultimate rebel, the absolute savage who dubbed me Poop King, was sitting in the dark corner, looking like he just spotted his own doppelganger. He totally crept out to his old spot again last night. That was strike 2, one more slip, and he'd be the planet's very first certified master restroom janitor. He rocketed out of the tavern like a missile and bolted straight toward the public restroom, the exact building he used to roast, the spot he swore he'd never step foot in. He shoved the door open, mentally bracing for a total disaster. Zero stench, just gorgeous sunlight pouring through high windows. That spider glue floor shining like high-end marble. Spotless, glowing, dead silent. He scoped out an empty stall and pushed the door open. A sleek, ceramic squat basin coated in waterproof spider glue. A fresh bucket of dry grass and wood shavings. And right on the door, a wooden latch lockable from the inside. Actual, legit. Literally 0 people can peek at you. Privacy for the absolute first time in his 30-something years of living. He walked right in, shut the door, locked it down, total peace. A few minutes later, he strolled back out, looking like a guy who just found his true calling. His crew was waiting outside, stressing hard. Yo, was it nasty? Total dungeon vibes? Greg opened his mouth, shut it, and opened it again. It's not even stinky, bro. It's cleaner than my crib, man. And you can lock the deadbolt. Their jaws hit the floor. Cleaner than home with a lock. Move over. I'm heading in. One by one, every single hater in town stepped into that restroom with the facial expression of a man marching to his execution. And every single one of them walked out, rocking that exact same look. The vibe of someone whose entire reality check just got completely rewired by a bathroom break. Starting that afternoon, usage skyrocketed from 0 to 100. At first, people sneaked in looking super awkward and slinked out looking totally flustered. But then the glowing reviews started trending everywhere. 0 bugs, no feral dogs biting your backside, and no freezing your tail off from winter drafts. It's actually low-key chill now. The vibe shift for being forced to comply to actually hyping it up happened so fast. It gave me serious whiplash, the classic. I was dragged here against my will, and now I'm a ride or die customer pipeline. Then came the morning that completely flipped the script. Old Lady Mara, a giga-struggling soul with decades of bad lungs, who'd been waking up every single sunrise, choking on the town's signature toxic trash smog, pushed open her window out of pure muscle memory, already shielding her nose. The foul stench was totally gone. Instead, she caught notes of fresh rain-soaked earth and grass, crisp morning air kissed by a chill breeze. She coughed. But this time it felt like a deep system cleanse, like decades of built-up junk finally getting purged. She inhaled deep, way deeper, deeper outside. Kiddos were sprinting through the streets, wild and free. No hands over faces, no gagging reflexes. Just pure, unadulterated, wholesome fun. Mara straight up started crying, not from being sad, from a harsh realization that her grandson, who had caught an L and died from a nasty scrape, just because this town's air was basically liquid death, didn't actually have to bite the dust. It wasn't fate. It wasn't some rigged destiny. It was just pure trash air. And now the trash air was gone for good. The whole settlement went absolutely feral with hype. The stench is actually gone. I can smell the local bakery from 3 blocks away. Never in my life could I do that there are butterflies in the alleyway. They used to be the most foul-smelling zone in the whole city. Folks stood out in the pristine streets, breathing deep like main characters being respawned, staring at each other with unhinged, mind-blown joy. Then Scarface Greg, the dude who had screamed down with the fraud lord and caught a heavy public fine for it, walked straight up to Pete right in front of everyone. The crowd fell dead silent. He bowed deep and real. He fished out 10 copper pieces and pressed them right into Pete's palm. This isn't the tax I owe the Lord. This is what I owe you, Pete, for pulling off a gig nobody else wanted to touch. Then he blurted it out loud enough for the whole map to hear. I was totally tripping. The Lord was right. He wasn't trying to punish us. He was hard carrying us silence. Then the entire crowd went wild. Long live the Lord. Divine messenger, Sorn, all praise to the Lord. The cheers were so loud, they could probably be heard clear across the next server. I was just strolling through my aesthetic, squeaky clean, butterfly magnet avenues, humming some nostalgic track from my past life, feeling like the absolute goat of the world. These users were so stubborn to onboard, but our user retention rate is locked at a solid 100%. Should have just dropped the nuclear penalty button from day one instead of wasting breath on speeches. My performance metrics would have looked way cleaner. But seriously though, flipping a literal open toxic dumpster into a cozy town. That dopamine rush beats hitting the lottery any day. My system UI chimed right on schedule. Achievement unlocked, milestone breath of order secured. Environmental health up, citizen happiness maxed out. And overall societal synergy completely broke the charts. System progress hitting 9% with sweet loot drops. 2,000 civilization points secured. A brand new blueprint for a basic epidemic prevention station. Literally a disease control hub. With this bad boy, I could finally kick off quarantine protocols, disinfection tech, and core preventive medicine. A massive W for survival rates right there. My alliance with the arachnids was stronger than ever. All thanks to that epic spider glue collab. Kravana was looking at me like I was an absolute deity who just happened to rock a drafting pencil. Everything was totally vibing upward. Life was good, and I was low-key humming to myself. Your Highness, major emergency. A border patrol knight came sprinting straight at me, stumbling and wheezing hard, his face completely ghost white, looking like he just had a close encounter with the Reaper. My smile vanished instantly. What went down? Did the sky actually fall? He could barely catch his breath. They the southern border, the edge of the misty forest. We found solid proof of massive, unknown, hostile activity. My stomach sank. They left this behind. He pulled out. A sharpened wooden stake branded with a distinct crest. A savage wild boar impaled right on a spear. Screaming in pure agony, and my blood instantly turned to ice. I knew that exact symbol. It was stamped on Barton's hunting permit. The one I shredded into tiny bits. Right in front of the whole town. The classic Viscount Rosek's family crest. The knight's voice cracked heavily from sheer terror as he dropped the final devastating blow. Your Highness, there are hundreds of these stakes out there, planted all along the forest line, and they all say the same thing. Hand over the spiders, or get ready for absolute war. The humming stopped dead. Those happy little vibes in the clean alleyway suddenly felt super far away, that terrifying W word. Ripped through the town. Faster than a nasty bug spreading at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Ticking 30 minutes. That was all it took for the entire local population to swarm. Outside my mansion, looking like the literal apocalypse hit. Which honestly kind of made sense context-wise. But those faces weren't giving any gratitude anymore. No more chanting "Long live the Lord." No more praising divine messenger soar. Nah fam now, it was pure, unadulterated mob panic. We're totally doomed, the Viscounts packing thousands of troops. This is totally the spider monster's fault. Why did he even keep it just hand over the spiders? We don't want to get clapped out here, yeah. Surrender them and spare our skins. These same people were literally worshipping me yesterday. Literally yesterday, they were shedding tears of joy because their streets didn't smell like a literal dumpster fire. And now they want me to throw the arachnid under the bus. The very creatures that helped construct their homes. Treating them like returning a defective item to the store. User loyalty sitting at a solid 0. Customer retention rate hitting deep negative numbers. I literally just executed the most successful public health campaign in medieval history. And they're ready to review bomb me with 1 star. Just because of some sketchy threat note. Should have kept the receipt for those soap bars FR. Old Lat Ray was right there in the crowd, shielding his daughter. Screaming at the top of his lungs, "Are you guys out of your minds? The Lord kept us safe. The arachnids built your pads. How can y'all be so ungrateful?" His voice got totally drowned out by the mob. Talk about zero gratitude. We're about to get packed up here. Save your breath. Some random dude tried to rush the mansion's front door. My knights pushed him straight back with a pommel strike. He slammed into the dirt hard, riot mode activated. I stepped outside rocking my crisp white prince uniform, straight boss status. Right behind me stood 10 elite knights locked in formation. Swords dropped hard into the ground, clang. One synchronized sound, one massive wave of pure killing intent that turned the whole courtyard into a deep freeze instantly. Total silence. I slowly walked down the stone steps and zeroed in on the loudest liability in the crowd. The clown screaming to hand over the monsters. "Step up here right now," and he nearly buckled on the spot, stumbling forward and shaking like a newborn fawn. "Who exactly were you demanding I hand over?" I. What? Are you trying to school me on how to run a territory now?" And boom, lore materialized right behind the guy out of nowhere. Like a literal jump scare made of pure violence, smack. One vicious open-hand slap sent the fool flying through the air. He bounced twice, spat out blood and teeth, and crashed out for good. The entire square turned dead silent, absolute ghost town vibes. Not a single breath or whisper dared to escape. These people had only ever witnessed my chill side before. The water filtering, soap crafting, toilet building good guy act. They completely forgot that behind every civilization builder stands a guy, ready to catch a body to keep that empire safe. I swept my cold gaze across a sea of terrified faces. I am the one and only lord of this lightless territory. And my law has one golden rule. Every single soul living and grafting here, human or arachnid, is officially under my protection as a citizen. I don't sell out my people, not for a bag of cash, not for a fake peace treaty, not for anything in this world. If they want smoke, then we'll give them all the smoke. But anyone out here trying to tank our morale, divide our squad, or tell me how to run my business. I glanced sideways at the bleeding wreckage on the pavement. That's what happens. Any other volunteers? Crickets. Every head dropped instantly, every mouth locked tight. I spun around and marched right back inside. Heavy doors slammed shut behind me. Then I collapsed face first into my chair like a popped balloon. Fronting tough like that is way more exhausting than actual manual labor. That whole speech totally fried my last remaining brain cells. I don't trade my people sounds dope on paper. But what am I even rolling with here? Empty threats? Pete and Sam were already kneeling anxiously in front of me. "What are we going to do, boss?" Pete held up the ledger with visibly shaking hands. "Your Highness, our food supply is basically at 0. For weapons, we've got like a dozen rusted-out swords, and a handful of snapped bowstrings. Budget-wise, a pocket full of copper coins and literal lit. And as for the local guards, several of them already dipped the second they heard about the Viscount's advance. 0 funds, 0 food, 0 gear, 0 soldiers, and not even a shred of solid morale. This was literally all we had. Our entire war chest summed up to a grand total of absolute zilch, and we're supposed to flex against a fully funded hereditary Viscount pulling up with an actual military army. This wasn't even a fight anymore. Bro, it was low-key a total bloodbath in the making. Pete straight up lost it, crying out, "Your Highness, please, can we just hightail it back to the capital?" The Emperor wouldn't run like where to? Back to the capital, where my royal brothers would dead-ass eat me alive. I was just a washed-up exiled prince. The whole damn empire was a red zone. There was dead-ass nowhere left on this map for me to retreat. Cornered, boxed in, completely outnumbered. Outgunned, outmatched, totally cooked. For the absolute first time since getting dropped into this realm, I felt this heavy, soul-crushing, numbing dread, my vision fading to black. My chest tightening up every single grind. The water filters, the handmade soap. The plumbing, the spider alliance. All of it about to get wiped off the board by some petty snob with a massive ego trip. Was this really it? Was this how my second playthrough ends? Not with a bang, but with a major system warning error. Host willpower dropping into the red zone. Emergency side, quest unlocked, the People's Arsenal.